Good morning and welcome to Truth and Transparency. Let's get started. This is Idaho4, Bryan Kohberger, Redlined, PCA. Let's get into it.
Have you guys ruled out the possibility that the killer might be a female?
So we look at every avenue. We're looking at every group of people.
Police really didn't answer that. It didn't seem to me, anyway, that it really occurred to them. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I'm joined now by former Louisiana homicide detective Rodney Demery, who now hosts the podcast Murder Chose Me. Rod, you think this killer might, in fact, be a woman? When the odds are completely stacked against that theory, why do you think that?
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's very likely it could be a female. The type of crime, I think the thought is that it's a mass murder or maybe some sort of serial killer, but the reality is it sounds like a passionate crime to me. I think it was someone that had a rage, a certain passion to create such violence. The wrong assumption is that could be a male. More than likely it's a female or a same-sex type relationship or something along those lines.
You think a lot of women get away with murder because, just like me, I usually think it's a man, and so do authorities.
Yeah, I think women, not necessarily do they get away with it, but I think it's probably a delay, because the first thought or the first assumption is a male, and that suspect can actually avoid detection for quite a while.
Rod, one of the things I've been noticing, and of course, look, it's the age of social media, and, girls in college are all over social media, and these girls had so much social media. They're beautiful. They've got beautiful vehicles. Kaylee bought a Range Rover, and she was expecting to start a new job, in the new year. Do you think there's a potential for jealousies because of this? And that's maybe why police should be looking towards other women who see these lives that they think are so much better than theirs?
I think that's a real possibility. Social media obviously creates some sort of violence, but I think it's more likely a relationship type crime, and I think the police probably have a pretty good indication who it is. I just think they're not speaking about it.
10 seconds left. Any chance it's just the boogeyman? It's just the Jeffrey Dahmers of the world? It's just the Ted Bundys? What do you think of that?
I would say probably not. It's definitely someone within their close inner circle.
All right, guys, good morning. Welcome. Right there, the word relationship doesn't necessarily have to be like that you are in a sexual, intimate relationship. But right here, a 14-year detective, violent crimes. I would love to have him on the show because he said in the beginning that, that this could be a woman, that this could actually be a same-sex relationship. And it was really interesting to hear that back then. And at the beginning there, we got to see the girl that kind of broke in and acted like she was a reporter. And she was one that asked that question right here at the beginning. Just want everybody to see this.
Have you guys ruled out the possibility that the killer might be a female?
And I love her grit and grind. Ain't no shame, Abe. Get in there, ask your questions. So, do you guys recall recently in the this talk about the confrontation clause of the? Do you guys know what the confrontational clause is? And it's part of our what is it? The 6th, 14th amendment, 6th, yeah, 6th. And I was looking at some case law the past couple days because we're going to talk about this PCA. And you guys all, not all of you guys, but a lot of you guys submitted what you think the PCA should really look like and not what Payne submitted. And I asked what you guys thought it should look like based on the truth, based on the true investigation. Let me grab some stuff that I have here. see. God, I got so much stuff over here. And I'm going to go through some of this stuff, but I want to talk about the confrontational clause. Bella, come on over and read it for us. If you want to get all up in this microphone here. Testing. Good morning. Come on in. Or I can read it for you if you want. Yeah. Okay. Confrontational clause refers to the provision in the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution that in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him. Confrontation means that in a criminal proceeding that the defendant has the opportunity to face the witness and cross-examines them to object to the testimony. Under the 14th Amendment, the right to confrontation applies not only to the federal government, but also to the states. It is designed to prevent a defendant from being convicted based on written evidence without having the opportunity to face their accuser and test their honesty and truthfulness before a jury.
And cross-examination.
Yes, big thing there is cross-examination.
The trier of truth. That's where you always get the truth. Supposed to. Under oath.
So with all the I don't knows and I don't remembers and I don't recalls and the group, the law enforcement group that worked on this PCA, this written work, Bryan Kohberger, shouldn't he be able to face everybody that was involved in this? Wouldn't it be a violation of the 14th and 6th Amendment? Because I really started thinking about that even more so with something that happened yesterday. But what do you guys think about that?
You have the right to face your accusers.
Well, obviously, but there was a lot of written work there. Like the PCA is 19 pages, the probable cause for the arrest. Blaker's, the one that he submitted for WSU's apartment, that was even longer.
Okay.
19 pages of pure trash. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, that one. I want this one. A testimonial hearsay. So in 2004, in Crawford versus Washington, the Supreme Court of the United States significantly redefined the application of the Sixth Amendment right to confrontation. In Crawford, the Supreme Court changed the inquiry from whether the evidence offered had an indicia of reliability, in quotes, to whether the evidence is testimonial hearsay. The Crawford court decided the key issue was whether the evidence was testimonial because of the Sixth Amendment's use of the word witness. Quoting a 1828 dictionary, the court explained that a witness is one who, quote unquote, bears testimony, and that testimony, in quotes, refers to a solemn declaration or affirmation made for the purpose of establishing some fact. Nonetheless, in Crawford, the Supreme Court explicitly denied to provide a comprehensive definition of testimonial evidence. The Crawford decision left the other basic components of the confrontational clause's applicability, which is the witness's ability and the scope of the cross-examination, unchanged. In Davis versus Washington and its companion case, Hammond versus Indiana, the court undertook the task of defining testimonial hearsay. Statements are non-testimonial when made in the course of police interrogation under circumstances objectively indicating that the primary purpose of the interrogation is to enable police assistance to meet an ongoing emergency. They are testimonial when the circumstances indicate that there is no ongoing emergency and that the primary purpose of the interrogation is to establish or prove past events potentially relevant to later criminal prosecution. I'm going to read that again. It's really, really, really amazing. Okay. Again. And so the Crawford decision left the other basic components of the confrontational clauses. So it's like the witness's availability and the scope of the cross-examination unchanged. But in Davis versus Washington and its companion case, the court undertook the task of defining testimonial hearsay. So like testifying at the grand jury, that's testimonial hearsay. Understand? Okay. Statements are non-testimonial when made in the course of police interrogation under circumstances objectively indicating that the primary purpose of the interrogation is to enable police assistance to meet an ongoing emergency. I would say that Moscow, Idaho had an ongoing emergency. Okay, there was 4 people that were brutally stabbed to death in the middle of the night in their homes. No forced entry, though. Okay, I think everybody needs to start putting the words "no forced entry" into that home. Okay, in any case that we would ever talk about, the number one thing that you would look for as an investigator and talk about if you were a reporter would be, wow, there was no forced entry into this home. Okay, in the middle of the night. Right? No forced entry in the middle of the night. So immediately you'd be thinking that it's somebody that this person knows. They'd either let them in. It's somebody that this person had access to get in with a key or a passcode. And then there's the option of, wow, this person that didn't know anybody, had no connections, just happened to get lucky as fuck to just be able to walk in there and not have to break in, right? So with this case, University of Idaho murders, the police said that this was an isolated, targeted attack. And they put, at first, they put out, little text messages saying shelter in place, and they lifted it, all that stuff, right? Those Nextel messages. Vandal alerts, yes. Okay. So we find out from this past hearing that, let's take a little pen here, take a little piece of paper. And we find out that Dylan Mortensen was interviewed on November 13th, literally just very close after the 911 call. Okay. So let's just go ahead and say, what do you guys think that would be? An hour? Like right afterwards? So I believe that she was on body cam. Okay. Then I believe that she was then talked to, but nobody, do you think that Dylan went to the hospital? Like, hey, can we get you to the hospital? Like, so body cam. And then an interview. Let's even say that it was 2 to 4 hours later. Then she was interviewed for a second time within 3 days. Okay. And then we know that she was interviewed a third time. Okay. We know that she was interviewed, when I say a third time, and depending on if you want to label it, it would have been after the name of Bryan Kohberger. Okay. But the way that they make it seem in the PCA is that November 29th, they find Bryan's ID because they find his car. And then, oh my God, he has bushy eyebrows. And we asked her if she recognized him, right? I wanted to go back to also what I had there. So I'm not going to give the third time to being showing the picture. I'm going to list that as the fourth time. All right. Because I believe that there would have been the third time is going to be a different time. So we have November 13th. Then I know that Payne's like, we don't even know that answer. So I'm going to say November 16th. Okay. And then I'm going to put a question mark on the third day, the third time. And then I'm going to put down December 20th as the fourth time. Why do you guys think I picked December 20th? But mind you, Ann Taylor knows the date that Dylan was called up and asked to come in. Oh, here, can you press that again, honey? Hey, we want to see if you recognize this person, and shows him a picture, right? Is it known if she picked him out of the lineup? What's greatly known here is Ashley Jennings, when she was just twirling and spinning, she was saying stuff, and it comes out that Ashley Jennings admits that Dylan was shown a picture of Bryan. Now, whether it was a picture of like him and 5 other people to make a 6-pack, or, I mean, that's normally what you would do, but we don't know how they did it, but we know that they did it. Now, so here, listen to this part now. So statements are non-testimonial when made in the course of police interrogation under circumstances objectively indicating that the primary purpose for the interrogation is to enable police assistance to meet an ongoing emergency. They are testimonial when the circumstances indicate that there is no ongoing emergency, and that the primary purpose of the interrogation is to establish or prove past events. Now, wouldn't you say that this whole time interviewing Dylan and Bethany, pretty much anybody, if you're trying to prove past events, right? What time, where Xana and Ethan were from 9 until 1:45, right? That's proving a past event. So they are testimonial when the circumstances indicate that there is no ongoing emergency, and that the primary purpose of the interrogation is to establish or prove past events potentially relative to later criminal prosecution, right? Now, the Davis court noted several factors that objectively considered help determine whether a statement is testimonial. So here's bullet point 1. Whether the statement describes past events or events as they are happening. So how much of the PCA is describing past events or events as they are happening? Well, let's talk about everything that, Dylan, right? Now, bullet point number 2, whether the purpose of the statement is to assist in investigation of a crime or, on the other hand, provide information relevant to some other purpose. And bullet point 3, the level of formality of the exchange in which the statement is made. The court noted that a single conversation with, for example, a 911 operator may contain both statements that are intended to address an ongoing emergency and statements that are for the purpose of assisting police investigation of a crime. The latter are testimonial statements because they are the sort of statements that an objectively reasonable person listening to the statements would expect to be used in an investigation or prosecution. So everybody's been wondering, why haven't we heard the 911 call? Why haven't we heard the 911 call? Like, who's the 911 caller? Who's on the 911 call? So keep that in the back, your back pocket there, thinking about that. Now, exceptions to the right of confrontation. In Crawford, the Supreme Court noted that 2 exceptions to the common law right of confrontation were acknowledged at the time the Constitution was written. So that's if you, the forfeiture by wrongdoing and dying declarations, only the former has been explicitly adopted by the court. So here's your forfeiture by wrongdoing. So where the defendant makes the witness unavailable for the purpose of preventing the witness from testifying, the defendant forfeits the right to confront the witness. So where the defendant makes the witness unavailable for the purpose of preventing the witness from testifying. This exception only applies to circumstances where the defendant acts with the purpose of preventing that testimony, but not to other circumstances where the defendant may nonetheless be blameworthy. For example, the testimonial statements of an uncross-examined murder victim are not admissible against the person who committed the murder unless the murder was committed for the purpose of preventing the victim from testifying. And that would be federal stuff right there. That's what what's-his-name was picked up for in the Birchmore case. That's why the feds took that on. The feds took that on because Birchmore was, according to the feds, killed because she was a witness to like her own shit, right? Sandra Birchmore case. What's his name? Matt Farley. What's his name? Yeah, fucking piece of shit. It is the prosecution's burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that the defendant secured the witness's unavailability for the purpose of preventing the witness to testify. So, which is not the case, right? So for the purposes of being detectives, let's say that we're the detectives in the case. And we go into the house, we get the 911 call, we go over there, blah, blah. If this house has been notorious for having underage drinking, if this house is notorious for having drinking wild parties, people are late, people are coming and going, they're partying when the owners aren't home or, the tenants, this is all known, and it's a known Greek house, right? All right, those are just things that you knew about the house because of past situations, right? No forced entry. And we talked to Dylan right off the rip. Don't you think that one of the first statements Dylan would have made is what Ann said? I don't know anything. I don't know if it was a dream, if it was real. So think about all those statements. In what interview do you think Dylan Mortensen started talking about a masked man? Do you think it was November 13th? Do you think it was November 16th, 15th, that one? Do you think it was the third time that she was interviewed, which is going to be between the 16th and December 20th? And never once did Dylan, in quotes, say that she was frozen and in a shock state, right? So would that be what would that be considered that Payne said? Like, is that Payne's opinion? Is that Payne's like Dylan didn't say, "Oh my God, I just froze. I just stood there." No, what came out in the hearing is that Dylan and Bethany were texting, and the content of the text messages by what they were discussing, whether it was with themselves or with other people, the content is how they were saying, well, that's how we know what happened really happened. And we know that it happened at that time because she's saying that it happened at that time. Remember? This is all Ashley Jennings like. Well, how do you have a suppression or a Franks and not have Dylan Mortensen called to the stand? So people out there wondering if Dylan or Bethany, who were these witnesses that testified in the closed portion, right? Well, I'm not even a lawyer, and I would feel like it would be ineffective for me to represent somebody and think that I'm not going to call Dylan Mortensen to the stand to straight up ask her, first of all, how many times she was interviewed, if she was ever, first of all, interviewed on days that she's going to maybe mention that aren't recorded or documented, right? I want to find that shit out because I can't get shit out of these assholes. These guys, I don't remember anything, and I don't recall, and I don't know, and blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, you would think out of the 67 devices, right? Dylan's one of them and Bethany's one of them, right? But take a look at this. If they would have taken those devices, let's say, when do you think that they took the devices to download them and extract them? Because I'm good. It's just really, really important. If you were to take the phones, let's say on the 13th, right? And hey, it's going to take a couple hours. I need to download it. You can have your phone back though. It's kind of like the Jennifer McCabe situation. It's also kind of like the Jennifer Drake situation. Any conversations that phone will have after I extract the data, like we're not going to get that. Okay. So think about this. So if I take Dylan's phone and Bethany's phone and I download them and I extract them on the 13th of November versus waiting until, I don't know, the 16th, 17th, or 18th, where do you think I'm going to get way more information? Like if you want to be strategic about something. But if I was a veteran, okay, I want to wait a couple days. I want these people to use their phones, and I want them to text with people, call people, and then go dump the phone. Hey, when I have you in on, November 16th, hey, can we download your phone so we can corroborate everything that you've said, right? I don't want to download on the 13th, right? I want to download it on November 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. I mean, I want to wait just a little bit, right? Oh, here, could you press this again? There would be a purpose in why you would wait. But since Payne and these guys don't even know what the fuck they're doing, I'm curious to know when they grab those phones to download them, because it's going to be very, 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 very important, like critical to actually the investigation that you could have gotten a lot more out of. Let's see what these people do and who they call and what they're talking about and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Now, oh crap, it happened again.
You're just not cooking up.
Yeah, I just should send it and print it.
Yeah, I should send it.
Okay.
Okay, but here.
Here, I'll do it right now. Oh, that smells like you doing the nails?
I'm sending it to you. It's gonna be in the availability.
I would like to know why AT&T hasn't hired you as an investigator. AT&T, no, I want a job with the Columbus Police Department.
But here.
I wanna be a desk detective. Okay, availability. If a statement is testimonial, the person making the statement must generally be available for cross-examination. Okay. So if a statement is testimonial, wouldn't you say Dylan's statements are testimonial? I think they are. An exception to this rule is if the witness is, like I said, unavailable. But even where the witness is unavailable, the defendant must have had a prior opportunity to confront the witness through cross-examination. A witness may be unavailable for a variety of reasons. A common reason for a witness to be unavailable is the witness is claiming a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. Wait, what'd you say, girl? Wait, a witness may be unavailable for a variety of reasons. A common reason, and something that a lot of people have said and wrote me, and do you think Dylan's going to plead the Fifth? And I said, why the fuck does Dylan need to plead the Fifth? Well, a common reason for a witness to be unavailable is that the witness is claiming a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. Other privileges are also a source of unavailability. Witnesses may also be unavailable because they have died, had memory loss, or simply decided not to cooperate as a witness against the defendant. So there's people out there could say, I'm not testifying. I'm not going to cooperate. Again, you know, I don't.
I have died.
Well, that could be a reason that they're not available, honey. But the obvious may also occur. A witness may be intimidated, seriously injured, or murdered, and his prior statements or hers then are usually not admissible, even if it appears that the defendant caused the non-appearance. Remember when Hitler and everybody's talking about there might be a lot of stuff that's just flat out inadmissible. And I thought about that. And I was like, wait, the defense is obviously they're trying to suppress stuff, but we don't know what they're trying to suppress because we've never gotten to see the exhibits, right? But we have seen one very crucial exhibit, right? Which is this fucking PCA that was told to spread it far and wide, right? Right? You guys do know that Payne, nor Mowry, nor any detective, okay, can testify in this trial that's coming up. Nobody will be able to take the stand and say, this is what I heard. They would have to produce a recording of a recorded interview and show it, like the interrogation of somebody, like we saw the Richard Allen interrogation. You can't use a report. And for a while there, I never understood why a report couldn't be, admissible. And I wanted the report not because of what was in it, but sometimes maybe you want a report because I want the timestamp of it, or maybe I want something in the report that is talking about evidence that was they're claiming was collected, but then it's not there, when we go to the evidence room. But with as far as like a report, like Leslie Lehman, for example, says that Isaac Funderburg in a recorded, or not a recorded call, but she was on the phone with him. Oh yeah, the gunshots happened 10 or 15 minutes after when that dude came up and talked to me. Okay, her writing that in a report is hearsay. All right. But how you could do it is call Isaac Funderburg to the stand and say, did you tell Leslie Lehman in a recorded phone call that you talked to Stephen Hartman 10 or 15 minutes after the shots? No, I did not. So if Leslie Lehman wrote in a report that she was on the phone with you, would she be misspoken? Absolutely. I would hope that she would have recorded the phone call, because maybe I'm wrong, but I know that I saw that guy after I went to the store, and there was just no way that I could have gotten to the store and back in 15 minutes, let alone, chased after the person I thought was on foot and done all that. Like, that's just impossible. Okay, that makes logical sense to me, So what I've learned is experience fucking matters, man. Okay? Experience matters in anything you do in life, right? If you're a freshman basketball player, you're going to make freshman mistakes, but then, you're a senior, you're a veteran, you're not making those same type of mistakes. Like Chris Webber didn't learn that, and he was just calling timeouts and losing games for them at Michigan. But usually the more you do something, you get better at it. You learn things. The Moscow Police Department they have no experience. None. Like dealing with testifying, clearly writing up search warrants. They've never done it before. I just can't imagine that. There's no training in some of the stuff that they were talking about. So here, Ann Taylor has had how many murder trials under her belt? And then you have Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson. How many murder trials does Ashley Jennings have under her belt? And Bill Nye, the science guy, whatever his name is, Nye, he said that the state would be burdened if they held it against the state that the FBI didn't do, hold up their end of the bargain on their contracts, which is at the fact that they not once, but twice uploaded to sites that they were not supposed to, and they did it acting like they were, me or you, right? So I want someone to explain to me that if Ann Taylor didn't call Ashley Jennings or Bill Thompson to the stand during the Franks part that we didn't get to hear as a witness, how would that not be an effective assistance of counsel? Based on the 8-page, and I replayed it for you guys a year ago, I put it out there, and I said that the prosecutor is the one that signs off on using IGG. And that would be either Bill Thompson made the call or if Ashley Jennings was making that call. But Bill Thompson or Ashley Jennings, every step of the way, they were the ones that said, without a doubt, had to have said, okay, Idaho State Police, we're going to implore IGG. So, okay, go ahead and send it to the Ortham lab, right? After they uploaded and realized that we have no close hits, this is we can't do anything with this. Whatever they determined to say that we couldn't do, like it's nothing. Then another communication would have had to happen with the prosecutor. This is the protocol. And so Bill Thompson or Ashley Jennings then would have to say, they would make that call. And I want to know why you wouldn't ask, what did you think the FBI was going to do, Bill Thompson, Ashley Jennings, whoever it is, that you would then say, okay, we're going to send the SMP to the FBI. There would have had to be contact between Bill Jennings, we'll start calling him Bill Jennings. Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson would have had to contact before they tell Orthram to, hey, that SMP that you got, we want you to send it to the FBI. And this is the person you're going to send it to. And this is how we're going to do it. Or we're having somebody come out there, fly out there and get it from you. Whatever. But before that would have to happen, Bill Thompson or Ashley Jennings would have to do what? I like Bill Jennings, so I think we're going to stick that. Backseat Bill Jennings. Bill Jennings would have to do what, guys? He'd have to contact and talk to the FBI first, right? You can't just say, hey, Fitzgerald in here. I don't ever talk to you. And one day you go to open up your mail and I send you something and what the fuck what is this? You understand? And remember then we have Ann Taylor saying, Your Honor, we don't have any communications. We don't have any work that these motherfuckers have done. We don't have any of the chain. Fuck a chain. What is chain? What does that even mean? So based on the interim policy, Bill Jennings is 100% the shot caller when you use IGG in the United States of America's protocols with IGG. Lana, how do you know that? Because I read the fucking material. It's 8 pages, and I talked about it right before I think the hearing kicked off the second day. Your prosecutor is the one who is calling the shots. Then your prosecutor is working like this with the lead agency, aka the agency that has the jurisdiction, which is Moscow Police Department. You're then like this with them because law enforcement and the prosecutor have to agree that it is the best in the interest of justice, that it's the proper time to implore and use IGG. And so I believe what was happening behind those closed doors would be, Your Honor, the state, based on these interim policies, this is Ann Taylor, the state, the prosecutor, based on these protocols, calls the shots. Ashley Jennings knows everything that happened in this case with IGG because Bill Jennings and, Ashley Jennings now won backseat. Bill Thompson becomes Bill Jennings. Bill Jennings knows more than Mowry and Payne, okay, because she was doing it. They were calling the shots. They said when to send something here and do this, and yep, we're imploring this. So they are witnesses. They're absolutely witnesses. How Ann Taylor would have been able to have that Franks without calling them to the stand, in my opinion, would be ineffective assistance of counsel. Because how are you going to prove your point? Wouldn't you want to ask Bill Thompson why the fuck he said he would send his kids back to school on November 28th, 29th, and 30th when he was interviewed by the Today Show? And he says the words, well, I also know more than you guys know. He says those words. Wouldn't you want to ask Bill Jennings what the hell he was referring to when he said, you know more, and that's why you would send your kid? And it's because you had him what? What did you know on November 28th, 29th, and 30th? Mainly the 29th and 30th is when that interview happened. And that was after Curtis Whitman was fucking around with Brian's vehicle at 12:58 in the morning. I don't know why I said that. I said that because I just knew that we were on top of it. I mean, let him motherfucker say whatever he wants. Okay? Get these motherfuckers on the goddamn record. Okay? Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings 100% are witnesses. Fuck, Ashley Jennings said that she knew who was doing what when she was oral arguing and giving answers that her own detectives didn't know. So also what's protocol is that Anne would have said, okay, so Bill, you contacted the FBI, right? Because they were taking, what did you think that the FBI could accomplish that the Idaho State Police, the lab that y'all use, what did you think the FBI could accomplish that Ortham couldn't? Why would you send, like, what was the purpose for that? And what you want to kind of like show the freaking, this is what they didn't want everybody to be seeing, in my opinion, is the intent. Bill Thompson, aka Bill, Backseat Bill, now Bill Jennings, Ashley and Bill, in my opinion, knew that the FBI was going to do what? Break policy. Thank you, P. Violate their own policy. There is no, think about it. There is no other reason. Bill, why would you put it in CODIS, nothing's there, okay? That if you're going to break policy with the touch DNA on the sheath, then why wouldn't you break policy with the damn blood that's on a railing, that's on a glove? Wouldn't you? Think about that. Think about that. But you would want to show Hippler that the people that called the shots, I would be moving for the Latah County Prosecutor's Office to be disqualified off this case from prosecuting it. You guys know that, right? They are witnesses. They are motherfucking witnesses, and I'm going to call them to the stand. They're the ones that decided after nothing could come from the IgG SNP that they did out at the lab that charged them $9,500. Bill Thompson made the decision to then send it to the fucking FBI. And all you have to ask them is, for what purpose? What did you think that the FBI could do that Ortham could not do? And you would have to have a phone conversation or a text message or an email to say, hey, we weren't able to come up and, that I was told to give you a call and that you guys, they said that we can use your guys' resources and you guys have people that do, that are really good with IgG and there's things that you guys can do. I mean, right? Bill Thompson just doesn't use smoke signals, and Ortham sending off a SMP to the fucking FBI in what? LA? Where there has to be communication. The purpose is intent. Bill Nye, the science guy, made it seem like the FBI burdened them by breaking policy. That is not true. That's not true. That's a half truth right there. The FBI didn't burden the state. The state burdened the state because Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson were the shot callers. And after nothing happened with the IgG SMP profile being able to get any hits or good ones to be able to make a family fucking tree, which they learned early on, they then said, okay, well, we're going to send it to the FBI for the purposes of what? Bill Thompson knew what they were going to go do with it. So how did the FBI burden the state with them breaking policy. No, Bill Thompson broke policy. Because it would be unfucking reasonable for me to think that Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings sent that SMP profile to the feds for what other reason? There's nothing else. They uploaded it how they're supposed to into databases that accepts it, and they did not include these databases that are opted out of law enforcement, and some databases that are just strictly you can't even use them. The FBI is just going to upload them as a human being like me or you and upload them like it's our own DNA. It's our own SMP profile. Like we are just using this third party as if it was our own. And and if FBI had set up headquarters at Moscow Police Department and we had FBI people there, don't you think Bill Thompson is having conversations with the FBI that's there? Don't you think somebody in the FBI that would have been there is saying, you don't think that these, like, I got a good question for you. I got a really good question for you. Why do the FBI people want to have their names redacted on who did the workup? I want to know who trained the people that redacted their names. Who trained those people that redacted their names that work for the FBI that did this case? Who trained them? Who do you think trained them? Don't you think the people that trained them should be held accountable too? Trained them how to cheat. I want some motherfucking training records. I want some, I want to know who is teaching people. How do you say, who's teaching people how to, where are we hiring these genealogists from, and who? Now, so explain to me how Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson, based off of the policy, that they wouldn't have been called to the stand during the Franks hearing. Why would Bill Thompson tell everybody that he thought that that this was an isolated, targeted attack, and there was a slip, and he says something about there was a person, it was a person that was targeted, and it had something to do with drugs. Where the fuck would you ever get that? Everybody thinks that the Ashley Jennings and them didn't want it to be an open hearing and objected to everything because like they're going to cover for the FBI or something. That's when I realized that no, they're covering for themselves. Because if you actually read the policy and the procedure of the IGG world and the 8 pages, every single step, the prosecutor is calling the shots. They have to make the shots. They have to call the shots. The prosecutor. Okay, they're in charge. And so That was a closed hearing because of Bill Jennings. I think it's appropriate to call him Bill Jennings because he's basically taken a back seat to Ashley Jennings. He doesn't say much, does he? Do you remember why Bill Jennings had such a problem with the guy from the surveys? Because he had a fucking PowerPoint presentation that Bill Jennings is about to be on, violating knowing that there's about to be a gag order, spread the PCA far and wide, right? And dude, do these people in Idaho, they hold grudges when you call them out. Like, woo! Like, you wouldn't believe what type of grudges. I've been calling people out recently for their shitty ass motherfucking lawyering skills. Like, where are they getting these lawyering certificates, their licenses? I swear they're getting them out of Cracker Jack's boxes. Okay, we've changed from tattoos and bubblegum and cards to, well, if you live in Idaho, you can go get your fucking, you can get your license. So I hope Ann Taylor files some type of they were just I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if it's just because they're not intelligent. But the prosecution, if you actually watch the hearing, they're saying stuff that's just not true. How is that not prosecutorial misconduct? The FBI didn't fucking violate the policy on their own. Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings violated the policy with the FBI because they knew or should have known that their actions they knew why they were sending it to them. So yesterday, before I show you the PCA here, with all these red lines, this is what the PCA would have looked like if they actually did it by the book. Okay. Well, yesterday, this channel was trying to, for victims and a party to the case, trying to live stream a court proceeding that was public, was a public court proceeding. And it was a hearing. It was a default judgment hearing. And the party stipulated to everybody that, you guys can have the Zoom link. It was posted on the docket. You could go get the Zoom link and the password, and then you would have access to the hearing to watch it. And I have never seen in my whole entire life. Have you guys ever heard of a lawyer sitting at a table during a trial hearing while having their phone out, listening to direct examination of a lead investigator, is watching a YouTube channel and getting updates and notifications on what a YouTube channel is doing? Have you guys ever heard of anything like that? How could you possibly be focused on listening to the direct examination so that you know what they're saying, so that way when you go to cross-examine that person, you can cross-examine that person, right? You have to listen to what they're testifying to so that you can then effectively cross-examine them. Okay. Well, I was personally contacted by one of the parties, since it was stipulated to that the parties can, this is going to be for public viewing, and there's a Zoom link, and this case better than anybody. can you help with cross-examination? Do you have like 5 to 7 awesome questions that you would ask certain detectives or law enforcement people that would be taking the stand, or anybody, out of this list, that you could provide really strong cross-examination questions? This is what I was asked by a party member days before the hearing. And I said, I've never, ever been a part of just a damages, like mitigate. I've never seen anything like that. So I was like, I don't know. I said, all I know is with my experiences is with cross-examination is you really have to intently listen to the direct examination to be able to effectively cross-examine that person. Plus, you have to know, did that person ever testify in the past? What are they testifying? If they've ever testified in the past, you want to have that material readily available to be able to impeach the witness as well. Also, if I know what the exhibits are going to be prior to, then I can have a pretty strong understanding of what they will be testifying to based on the exhibits. Because if it's coming from reports that officer did, you can pretty much get that from. So there's different ways that you can prep for that. But without a doubt, you would have to hear and see and take very good notes and know the case with the direct examination. Like that's because there's a scope, that you would have to stay within. And so, okay. Well, can you supply me with, I know you want to see, can you at least just give me something, some outline, and then we're stipulating to it being via Zoom, and so that way you can be able to watch it like you do all these other cases that you cover. And you're really good at finding stuff like very quick. And do you think that you'd be able to see something and help us out? And I said, well, as long as that's not against the law, I'm fine with that. So I contacted people and they said, no, that's not against the law. Anybody can help people. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, you can't get up there and ask questions. Like, you're not a lawyer. Okay. Yeah, no, I know that. I was just double checking for myself. So yesterday, it was this hearing, and you're never going to believe this if you weren't there, and I'm going to play the clip. Whenever you give out a Zoom link, it is not selective. You don't get to pick people that you give a Zoom link out and other people don't. That's not how it works. Okay. A public hearing that you have stipulated to having Zoom link and people can watch via Zoom. Okay. There is no list that the parties have that here, these are the people that come in and the other people get to sit in the waiting room. Okay. That's not allowed. Well, I made a phone call and you guys heard, if you guys were here, I'm going to play the portion of it. I got them commenting that, and putting it in writing, the person that was running the Zoom, saying that we have a list here and, and I'm like, what? You can't do that. One of the parties called me because they were planning on watching it through my channel because they have a hard time ever getting on Zoom. To begin with, they're older people. They're almost 70 years old. They don't do well with technology. And so yesterday, they then attempted to get on the Zoom. They couldn't get on the Zoom themselves, and they're a part of the case, so they couldn't watch it. Then I call up saying, hey, I'm trying to play this for them so they can watch it through this. No one's being let in. This can't be allowed, blah, blah, blah. So we get in. We, the people, get in. And we start watching this trial, the hearing. and Van Leuven's on the stand, who's the lead detective in Idaho State Police, and I began to start taking my notes. And I'm going to play this clip. And the attorney for the party, in the middle of the hearing, when a detective is testifying, stands up, and you're going to hear her, and she says, "Your Honor, can we call a recess really quick? And can we approach?" Wait, a recess, and we're approaching. So are you asking for a sidebar? Is that what you're asking for? What do you mean? A recess is like, you're not going and conversing with the judge. A recess is, you need to talk to your client. You got to go take a shit so bad you can taste it type of thing. What? And I want you guys to hear and see what happens. And I want your guys' opinion of how Idaho works. And if you think when you go get a defense attorney or any attorney that's supposed to be protecting and serving your interests, if you think that your attorney who knows that somebody is trying to watch to be able to help in a hearing, if you try to get them kicked out purposefully, what do you think that would constitute as? Let's take a look. This is a very very interesting. Oh, really quick though, when I sent the precursor 12 questions, I also sent a 1 and 20-second clip to use as an exhibit. And this was that.
The question is it premeditated murder or is it a premeditated shooting through a window? Because those are two different things. Then we infer your intent based on what we see, which is first-degree murder.
Well, I didn't shoot him, and I'm sorry, but that's what it is. So I guess if you're going to do that, then I need to get an attorney.
Okay.
Okay, so and then clip 2.
You said that you were there when the call came in.
Yeah.
But you also said that you left and you'd gone to your office because you were sick.
Yeah, I had diarrhea.
And in listening to our interview before, it's unclear to me whether or not that time period was before or after the call came in when the shooting happened. Because Mick says he thought it was, that he's absolutely certain that you didn't leave until after the call came in.
Right.
Is that your recollection?
Yeah.
So you said you got to his house about when?
I mean, it's been so long, I don't even remember.
Okay, he said a little after 6. Yeah. Does that sound right?
I go there almost every night. So we just have dinner usually, watch some TV, and
Okay.
that's the end of it.
Who'd you go there with?
Just myself.
Just yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd you get there?
Like vehicle.
What vehicle?
I think my truck.
What kind of truck do you have?
A Toyota.
Yeah, what color is your Toyota?
White.
All right, so you think you went there in your white Toyota?
I believe so.
By yourself? Mm-hmm. And then at some point the call came in that there'd been this shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You were sick.
Yep.
Went to your office, used the bathroom.
Yep.
Came back to his house.
I don't know if I came back to his house because he was leaving. Maybe that was how it happened.
You said before something about getting some Imodium or some Motrin or something like that.
Oh, he gave me some Imodium before I left. That's right.
Okay.
And then I called my wife on the way home and said I wasn't feeling good. I was going to bed.
When you left his house to go to your office,
Mm-hmm.
Did you drive anywhere else?
No,
Just straight to your office?
I don't remember. I think I did. That's all I can remember.
Okay. When you went home, how did you go home?
I pulled out and the police had a roadblock on the left-hand side, so I went around and went home that way.
Here we go.
Hearing.
So, how long have you owned that truck?
Okay, now think about the Idaho4 case with the white car. Okay. Please see these parallels. Ready?
I'm not sure. 6 months, something like that.
Well, this happened about 5 months ago, so you say you had about a month before the homicide of Dr. Gregg?
I think so, but I couldn't tell you exactly about it.
You drive it?
Sometimes, yeah.
Your wife drive it?
No, just me.
Your son is in Germany?
Mhm.
Was he home on leave or anything at that time?
No,
Was he drive, so he doesn't drive your truck?
no.
I need to advise you of your Miranda rights too, just because we're in a police station. Before you're asking any questions.
15 minutes into it. I need to remind you, I got to Mirandize you here just because we're in a police station. Excuse me? You don't Mirandize somebody just because you're in a police station. Okay? So right there, my first question is, have you ever given Miranda outside of a police station, detective? Do you only Mirandize people in police stations? And I saw that you pulled a card out of your back pocket, right?
Questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. However, anything which you do say can be used against your court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before you're asking any questions and to have them with you during questioning.
You have a right to a lawyer right there, right? So the clock's ticking here. 14:26 is on the clock. Let's see.
You have the right to advice in the presence of a lawyer, even if you can't afford to hire one. And if you're unable to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. If you wish to answer questions or make any statements at this time without a lawyer being present, you have the right to refuse to answer any questions and to have this interview terminated at any time. Do you understand your rights?
Sure.
Okay. Now, you need to go back and ask all those questions over again.
I understand. It's not going to change.
Okay. So, you didn't try to commit suicide?
No, sir.
You didn't shoot Bryan Drake?
No, sir.
You did go over to your friend's house?
Yes.
By yourself?
Yes.
Driving your white truck?
Yeah.
You don't have any idea what happened to Mr. Drake?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I've had patients that knew him, but I personally have never met him.
Okay. So, all right.
So here, let me tell you some electronic things. So we're gonna go into this.
Okay, Gary Tolson, right here, bald guy. He is involved in the Idaho4 case. He is about to lie. So please listen.
The easy way, and so we want you to understand what we understand.
Okay.
So let me tell you a little bit about electronics. These phones,
Yeah, the tracking
they're
device.
tracking devices.
Yeah.
Your truck,
Yeah.
the radio,
Yeah.
it's a tracking device.
Okay.
If it has Bluetooth in it,
Yeah.
it's seeking. Okay.
Right.
So you know what geofencing is? You ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. That means that wherever you're going, that's bouncing off a satellite and is looking for Bluetooth, and that's connecting, and that's telling us where you're at.
Okay.
There is a lot of cell phone stuff that we can seek, which we have sought.
Right.
Okay. There's also a lot of cameras up here.
Mhm.
And a lot of stuff on those cameras, we go, do we need that information or we don't need that information?
So do you think that this is how he approached Dylan and Bethany? Detective Tolson. if he talked to them or anybody from Idaho State Police that interviewed Bethany and Dylan. Told them about their phones, right?
What we have discovered with this stuff is that your truck is leaving Nick's house on the night of the shooting.
Okay.
It's not stopping at you. It doesn't stop at your office. In fact, it drives down towards Dr. Drake's office. And in fact, circles Dr. Drake's office several times. Then your truck goes back and parks right in front of your office, all on camera.
Okay.
Then we have a figure walking from the backside of your office down towards Drake's.
Okay.
Then we have gunfire, and we have a witness hear that gunfire.
Yeah.
And we have a figure walking, then running back towards your office.
Right.
And we have your car being unlocked,
Okay.
driven back to Mix.
Okay.
Who drove that truck?
I'm the only one that drives it.
What do you think we think of that?
Well, like I said, it's hard for me to know if I went to Mix and he went there or whatever, but I'm telling you that I was at his house.
Well, we got that. Were you driving your truck down to your office?
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, listen to me. We don't know why you did it.
Did what?
Shot and killed Dr. Drake.
I did not kill
There's
Dr. Drake.
There's two reasons why this might have happened. One is either you're a cold-blooded killer who went out and murdered this guy because you wanted to take it away from his wife and his kids. The other reason is because you had some beef against him. Maybe it was professional, maybe it was something else we're not even aware of, and you were trying to scare him because you didn't want him in town. And you fired a round through his office window, not thinking that you were going to kill him. And then when you found out you did, you were so aggrieved about it, you tried to take your own life.
That's not what happened.
You tell me what happened. All we know is I have enough evidence right now to take this to a jury and convict you for murder.
Well,
plain and simple. So why you did what you did is super important, because you're either looking at a first-degree premeditated murder charge, because we can prove premeditation by the driving past his window, the pausing, circling twice. We can prove premeditation. The question is it premeditated murder or is it a premeditated shooting through a window? Because those are two different things. This is your opportunity to pick which one it is.
Well, I didn't kill him. So
you fired the shell, the round that killed him. Whether you intended to kill him or not is a different question.
I just showed you the gun. Is that gun?
That's not the gun. That's not the gun. It was a revolver that you used. We're currently doing search warrants at both your residences, at your chiropractic office, and your gun shop over in Montana.
Okay.
As well as your vehicle. Your Toyota is being towed down to Coeur d'Alene. Your other vehicles are going to be searched. In talking with the prosecutor and in showing him what we've got, we all feel confident that presented to a jury would convict you for this. So you got to ask yourself, how do I want this to go?
Okay, now I have a question. Why didn't they bring in Bryan Kohberger like this? They didn't. Okay, now ready?
So we see you spend about an hour and 10 minutes at his house. We then see you leave. We see you go down Hill Street Alley
He pulls out an Excel spreadsheet, shows them this Excel spreadsheet, brings out a map.
Get a map out here, sorry. You come out of his house, you come down Hill Street Alley, you turn here, you come down here, you turn in behind the church, you circle around the church, you then drive up here, you pause it before turning on 95, and think because you're looking back into this parking lot. You're coming back slowly at 95. You turn into here, you come back around again, you go back here again, back around again, you're clearly visible in the cameras. You can clearly see you.
That's a lie, by the way. No cameras can clearly see anybody in any of these vehicles except two, and it's not this vehicle.
You come back in here, you turn then between here, you turn between these two buildings, and you stop right here, and
listen to the timestamp.
That's at 7:17:52. The murder happened exactly at 7:26, and we can prove that through phone records.
We can prove that through phone records. The murder happened exactly at 7:26. We can prove that through phone records. Listen to how they think that they can prove things.
He was on the phone with his wife when he was shot.
Now, let's go back to the beginning of what I said here today, guys. Because he was on the phone with his wife when he was shot, that's how we can prove what time the murder was. What? So go back to what we heard in that hearing. We know that the murders happened between 4 and 4:25 because we have them texting about what they just saw. We had, this. So the phone records aren't proving anything. The hearsay statements of Jennifer Drake, right? Jennifer Drake saying, I was on the phone with my husband in the last 15 seconds. Ouch, ouch, he shot me through the window, blah, 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 right? Think about this. Now, watch this.
7:17:52. After pausing here, you then get back on Main, you drive back up, you park at your office, you can see that your lights lock your truck. You can then see as you're walking over here, there's...
Right there, he misspoke about the document.
So we can prove that through phone records because he was on the phone with his wife when he was shot. That's at 7:17:52. After pausing here, you then get back on Main. You drive
at 7:19 and 20 seconds after. When he says pausing here, he's pointing to the alleyway. Okay. All right. The alleyway between Drake and the coffee shop. And so this is then the third clip I send to then give questions for.
Drive back up, you park at your office, you can see that your lights lock your truck. You can then see as you're walking over here, there's two deer. One of the deer looks back at you. The deer move on, you cross here. That's a minute and a half before the shooting. The shooting occurs. The guy across the street and his girlfriend see you, he yells at you, hey, was that you? You turn, look back at him, walk, and then run this way across here. He says first he says it's the insurance company, and then he says it's the old pediatrician's office, the A-frame, which is that building right there. Then a minute later, you see your vehicle unlocked, beep, beep, back up, and you drive back here, back to his house. As you're driving this way, the RP has gotten in his car and driven around here, and you can actually see him come up as your vehicle goes past. His headlights hit the side of your car.
Who's the RP?
The person across the street, the reporting party.
Okay.
My point is that based on all of this, you're sunk. There's no point denying this. The question is why you did what you did.
Based on all of this, you're sunk. Isn't that what you said to Detective Van Leuven?
didn't do it. I mean, you can go ahead and say that that's what I did, but I didn't. I didn't know Brian Drake. I've never shot anybody.
Do you understand the importance of intent? Because removal on, you cross here, clearly see you.
Oh, wait, right there.
You come down here, you turn in behind the church, you circle around the church, you then drive up here, you pause it before turning on 95, we think because you're looking back into this parking lot. You're coming back slowly up 95. You turn into here, you come back around again, you go back here again, back around again, you're clearly visible in the cameras. You can clearly see you. You come back in here, you turn then between here, you turn between these two buildings, and you stop right here. And that's at 7:17:52. The murder happened exactly at 7:26, and we can prove that through phone records because he was on the phone with his wife when he was shot. That's at 7:17:52. After pausing here, you then get back on Main, you drive back up, you park at your office, you can see that your lights lock your truck. You can then see as you're walking over here, there's two deer. One of the deer looks back at you. The deer move on, you cross here. That's a minute and a half before the shooting.
Okay, question. How long do you think he spent making that Excel spreadsheet? Just like in the Bryan Kohberger case, Idaho4 case, there's these vehicles that they put down and they make an Excel spreadsheet, right? And you would be marking down every sound or every person that you see. You're using this one camera, right? And so anytime that you see something, you'd mark it down, right? Well, we're about to get to the second half of the show, which is the PCA, right? The PCA, right? How long do you think, how many cameras, you're looking, going over this, right? Writing this all out. Would a good detective and an investigator write down everything that's happening from the time, like, hey, we know that the girls got home at this time. Here's a private driver car. Boom. Then at this time, boom, right? We're not just focused on one Excel spreadsheet that's only on one vehicle. You're having a master. Wouldn't you have a master timeline? Right around the crime scene, right? Right? Because when somebody tells you that they did something, you would mark it down on your Excel master spreadsheet and you would highlight it a certain color because then you'd want to verify it with the cameras to see if that person is telling the truth. And then everything would be like, let's say like in yellow until it turns to white because we verified it through X, Y, and Z, right? So I said, what better experiment than to look at Brian's PCA Remember, they said that the Idaho State Police helped. It was groupthink. So So I went and got the 19 pages. Isn't that interesting? I'm sorry, 17-page affidavit. Dr. Drake's wife, Jennifer, called him at 6:42 p.m. from their home in Hayden. It was routine for Dr. Drake and his wife to have a telephone conversation on the nights he stayed in Bonner's Ferry. He advised her he was seeing late patients who were still there and would call her when he was finished. These patients were later identified as Eldora Gatel, a longtime and regular patient of Dr. Drake, as well as Gatel's brother, Caleb Kakoa Nazara, who was visiting from Hawaii. Gatel and Nazara later confirmed that they were present when this call came in and that they heard Dr. Drake's side of the conversation. This call lasted 13 seconds. After being seen by Dr. Drake, Gatel and Nazara reported seeing a white, large pickup truck stopped in the drive-thru between the two buildings as they were leaving the office. They reported the vehicle was stopped, pointed toward the northwest, and its lights on. Keywords. After being seen by Dr. Drake, Gatel and Nazar reported seeing a white truck, a large pickup truck, stopped in the drive-thru between the two buildings as they were leaving the office. They reported the vehicle was stopped, pointed toward the northwest, and it had its lights on. I'm a detective sergeant employed by the Idaho State Police Investigations Division, assigned to the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho District 1 Investigations Office. My primary duties are the investigation of major criminal violations and violations of state and federal controlled substance laws. This affidavit is intended to show only that there is sufficient probable cause for the requested warrant and does not set forth all of my knowledge about this matter. I have set forth only the facts necessary to support a finding of probable cause and any fact or facts that would lead the court to not find probable cause on the charges. My knowledge of the facts set forth in this affidavit are based upon my own observations or the observations of other sworn officers who have relayed their personal observations to me for purposes of this probable cause affidavit. Well, I think you left out or the witnesses' observations. Now, Detective Van Leuven and Leslie Lehman took a camera and they began putting all of these plotted points, just like they did in the Idaho4 case, with the cameras in the area. Okay. Dr. Drake, they say, number 11, Dr. Drake called his wife at 7:17 p.m. Mrs. Drake was at their shared residence in Hayden, Kootenai County, Idaho at the time of this call. After discussing routine family issues for several minutes, Mrs. Drake said her husband explained that something had struck him in the side. He then said he thought someone had shot him through the window. He then stopped responding to Mrs. Drake. Mrs. Drake hung up to call 911 after a short period of time. Mrs. Drake estimated the time from Dr. Drake no longer responding until when she hung up was approximately 15 seconds. Based on the timestamp from the phones and Mrs. Drake's estimation of the time of when he stopped responding, puts the time of the shooting at approximately 7:26 p.m. Mrs. Drake dialed 911 to report what she had heard. The dispatch center in Coeur d'Alene patched her call first up to Bonner County Dispatch Center, and they patched it up to Boundary County Sheriff's Dispatch Center. Okay. How did you determine that it was a fact that Brian Drake was the one that called Jennifer Drake, Detective Van Leuven, at 7:17 p.m.? So think about asking these type of questions to Payne. Dr. Drake called his wife at 7:17 p.m. Mrs. Drake was at their shared residence in Hayden. How did you determine that? Right? So how did you determine that it was Brian Drake on the call with Jennifer Drake? How did you determine that? Because Jennifer said so. Well, isn't it possible, Detective Van Leuven, that Eldora Gatchel and or Caleb Cohen Azara made that phone call? No. It's not? No. Well, why not? Because they left. Oh, they did. Well, in your probable cause affidavit, which is all facts, right? Because you check everything. You state in your probable cause that after being seen by Dr. Drake, Gatchel and Azar reported seeing a white, large pickup truck stopped in the drive-thru between the two buildings as they were leaving the office, right? Yeah, that's correct. And here in this interrogation with my client, right, you say that it was at
6, and we can prove that through phone records because he was on the phone with his wife when he was shot. That's at 7:17:52. After pausing here, you then get back on Main.
So 7:17 and 52 seconds. That's when the white truck, based on the cameras, is pulled up with its running lights on, right? Yes. That's correct. Okay. And you said that you pulled the phone records and you know what time Brian Drake called his wife, right? What time was that at? 7:17, right? How many seconds? Was it before 7:17 and 52 seconds? Yes. Okay. So in order for Eldora Gatchel, like you said here, and her brother, to have seen my client's truck or any white truck, would you quarrel with the idea or the fact that Eldora Gatchel would have to be present there at the office at 7:17 and 52 seconds? Detective, is there a reason that you didn't put in your Excel spreadsheet and mark down what time the Honda Pilot that Eldora Gatchel and her brother were in? Is there a reason that you didn't put down on the Excel spreadsheet the timestamp and the departure of the Honda Pilot? No. So it's not true that you didn't put it down there because it would completely obliterate your timeline here? No. Well, okay. What time, why don't you tell the courts what time Eldora Gatchel's pilot left the scene? $7:16 and 10 seconds. What was that? 7:16? 7:16 and 10 seconds is when the pilot left. Pilot that has Eldora Gatchel. Right? Supposedly. Right? That's the time the cameras say, right? Well, detective, I just really need you to clear this up for me then, because I'm having a hard time here. How is it that Eldora Gatchel and her brother saw a white truck at 7:17 and 52 seconds? if they left in the pilot. Fuck. So, detective, either this is all a lie, or you truly believe that Eldora Gatel was still there and you had no problem putting it in there because you knew that she was still there. So you could put it in there because it's technically not a lie, right? But the part that you can't put in is you said, after being seen by Dr. Drake, Gatel and Azar reported seeing a white, large pickup truck stopped in the drive-thru between the two buildings as they were leaving the office. Why didn't you mark down a timestamp for that? They reported the vehicle was stopped, pointed toward the northwest, and had its lights on. Well, that would mean two things. Well, first of all, the white truck wasn't there until 17 and 52 seconds, right? So can we just answer this, that there is no way that Eldora Gatel, or anybody for that matter, they could have never seen a white truck parked with its running lights before 7:17 and 52 seconds. Is that accurate? Would you agree with me on that? Yes, they couldn't. Okay, so now is 7:17 and 52 seconds. That means Eldora Gatel is still there, correct? And if she is still at Drake's, isn't it possible then, detective, that Eldora Gatel could have made the 7:17 and 40-second phone call from Bryan Drake's cell phone? And now the bigger problem that you have on your hands, detective, right now is what time do you see on the camera Eldora Gatel's pilot leaving? 7:16 and 10 seconds. Okay. 20 seconds, something like that. Yeah, a whole minute and a half beforehand. Okay. So, detective, the last person to see Bryan Drake alive lied about what car they left in, what time they left in, and seeing a white truck that would have never been there yet. Right? And you would have known this very early on in the investigation when you're putting together a chronological timeline, right? Right? So, detective, in your probable cause affidavit here, when you say this is facts, well, we have Bryan Drake's phone calling Jennifer Drake's phone, right? That's what we have. That's a fact, right? We don't know who's on either one of those lines, right? Is that right? But let's even back up one step further. Dr. Drake's wife, Jennifer, called him at 6:42 p.m. from their home in Hayden. How do you know that it was Jennifer at 6:42 that called Bryan Drake's phone? Well, Jennifer said so. Her phone shows a call. But how do you know that it was Jennifer on the phone? And how are you determining where Jennifer's whereabouts are? You're able to determine where her phone's whereabouts are. Isn't that correct? Cell phones go with who? People? Well, yeah, we can only say where the cell phone was, not her. Okay. So you have Jennifer Drake's cell phone. It doesn't say that you have it on a tower here. You just said that she called from her home in Hayden. How did you determine that? We don't have here in discovery any of the cell towers from Hayden on that night of the murder. So where did you get that information from? We don't have it. So once again, that would be from her statements as well. So Dr. Drake's wife, Jennifer, called him at 6:42 p.m. from their home in Hayden. That would be her statement, just like Dylan or Bethany. It was routine for Dr. Drake and his wife to have a telephone conversation on the nights he stayed in Bonners Ferry. Why was that needed? He advised her he was seeing late patients who were still there and would call her when he was finished. That's hearsay, right? Okay. But you put in here that these patients were later identified as Eldora Gatel, a longtime regular patient of Dr. Drake, as well as Gatel's brother, Caleb, who was visiting from Hawaii. Gatel and Nazara later confirmed that they were present when this call came in and that they heard Dr. Drake's side of the conversation. Hearsay, hearsay, right? But in a sense, detective, the only people that are keeping Bryan Drake alive at 6:42, being alive, right, is Jennifer Drake, right? And who? Eldora and Caleb. How do we know that Dr. Drake's alive at 6:42 p.m.? Well, based off of the 7:17 p.m. phone call, he called his wife, which I just told you that could have been Eldora calling, right? Because he didn't have any passwords on his phone, did he? Right? Now, you came along some eyewitnesses in this case, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Number 12, eyewitness named Isaac Funderburg was outside of his apartment near his car when he reported hearing a gunshot from across the street. Funderburg's apartment was located directly across the street from Dr. Drake's office. Funderburg later advised he observed an adult male dressed in dark clothing walking northwest from between Dr. Drake's building and a fence on the north side of the building immediately after hearing the shots. That isn't correct, is it? Yeah, it is. Funderburg later advised he observed an adult male dressed in dark colored clothing. Didn't he say he saw a dark skin colored man with facial hair, black hoodie, black pants, and a silver vest? I don't see that here. Does Dr. Moore look fucking dark Indian / Hawaiian descent to you, motherfucker? Funderburg said that he said the figure reminded him of one of the clerks that worked at the Liberty gas station that could not be sure because of how dark it was. What does the clerk look like? Yeah, dark skin. Funderburg said he yelled to the figure words to the effect of, "Hey, was that you?" Now think of fucking the Idaho4 PCA. Funderburg said he yelled to the figure words to the effect of, "Hey, was that you?" referring to the gunshot. Funderburg said the man looked back at him and then ran north on the sidewalk of Main Street and then to the northeast toward the State Farm Insurance Building. He later said the figure was running in the direction of what he described as a pediatrics office or a kid's dentist office. He described this building as an A-frame. This building was later found to have formerly housed Sandpoint Pediatrics. Funderburg's fiance, Aaliyah Sandlin, also heard the shot. Didn't she tell you that there were 2 shots? Right? And that gets confirmed when your officer asks her, was that the first shot or the second shot that you're referring to on when a different subject came up? Aaliyah Sandlin also heard shots and observed a figure running away to the northeast. Funderburg said he immediately got in his car and tried to find the man so he could take a picture of him. He said he dialed 911 to report the shooting within a couple of minutes of it happening. The call to dispatch from Funderburg came in at 7:29 p.m. Where'd you get that information from? Did you use the cell tower records or Funderburg's cell phone records? Where did you get the information that Funderburg called in at 7:29 p.m.? Funderburg's call into the Boundary County Dispatch actually came in before Jennifer Drake's 911 call by the time it had been patched through from Kootenai and Bonner County. Funderburg was unable to locate the individual. Funderburg and Sandlin were later shown several photographic lineups, including one that combined or contained a photo of suspect Moore, but did not identify any individual with certainty. Did you interview a woman named Emma Fields during your investigation, Detective? Sure did. And isn't it true that Emma Fields told you that Jennifer Drake told her that Bryan was standing by the window or looking out the window as he was seeing off his last patients? He saw his final patients get in the vehicle and drive away. Yeah. Yeah, she did say that. Didn't she also say that Bryan said, I'm getting ready to head home. I'll see you in a few minutes? Are you aware that Bryan Drake normally spends the night in Bonner's Ferry on Thursday nights? So how would he be seeing his wife in a few minutes? Was she in town? Were they planning on meeting up at the local bar? Didn't you interview, didn't you interview a guy by the name of Stephen Hartman during your investigation? And didn't Stephen Hartman tell you that he ran into Isaac Funderburg? Yep, sure did. Okay. And what time was that at? 7:31 p.m. How do you know that? From the Columbia Bank cameras? Okay. And isn't it true that Aaliyah Sandlin said that Stephen Hartman arrived 30 minutes after the gunshots? Because she was asked by her detectives the day after the murder on March 13th, 2020. Wouldn't that be exculpatory of Dr. Moore if the person was shot at 7 p.m.? Wouldn't it also be, I don't know, inculpating of Jennifer Drake and Eldora motherfucking Gatchel? I mean, 7:31 and 7:26 are 5 minutes apart, right? So when Aaliyah Sandlin says that the guy, Stephen Hartman, who's walking up, says to the police, oh, I know that he had nothing to do with this murder because he came up 30 minutes later after the gunshot, the first gunshot. Isn't that how she said it? Now, you don't think that Aaliyah Sandlin could possibly confuse 4 or 5 minutes with 30, right? And then Isaac Funderburg was asked the same question. He had a conversation with Stephen Hartman, and he said, when he was asked, well, how long after the gunshot did you talk to this individual? He said, oh, I had already gone to the store and came back. And so... And then Leslie Lehman, hearsay, writes up a report and says that Isaac said 10 or 15 minutes. But you didn't record that conversation, right? No, we didn't. So we don't really know what Isaac said. But if Isaac was to walk into this courtroom right now and he says, no, I said like 30 minutes. There's no way I would have said 10 or 15 because that's how long it would have taken me to just get to the store and back. And I went after and looked for the person, and you know, I also took my 2 motherfucking dogs with me and we were on foot. Wait, you had 2 dogs with you, Isaac? Yeah, my 2 big, huge German Shepherd dogs that look like deer? Yeah. Did you tell the police this? Yes, the police did not want to listen to anything I said. I told them that the person that was not Dr. Moore. That's not who I saw. I know, because you saw a dark-skinned man, right? Isn't it true, Detective Van Leuven, that you were given a video of a man playing a ukulele right before Brian Drake was shot? Who was playing the ukulele? Caleb Pico and Nazara. What was he wearing in the video that you were given just minutes before his murder? A beanie, black hoodie, black pants, a silver vest, goatee, facial hair, and dark skin. You left all of this out of the probable cause affidavit? Every fucking witness and the goddamn surveillance cameras show that this fucking murder happened, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes before y'all said it did. And you're all going based off of one thing. Somebody saying, this is who I was talking to on the phone. Jennifer Drake gives Eldora Gatel an alibi. And Eldora Gatel is alibying Jennifer Drake. Because at 6:42 p.m., they're both saying, oh, yeah, Brian's phone called and he talked for a minute, which is keeping him alive. Brian Drake at 6:42. It's keeping him alive. Two people. She's like, yeah, I called and talked to him for 13 seconds. He was with patients, so he said he would call me back. Oh, yeah, and Eldora's saying what? That's what the conversation was from, because we heard it from this side. So they're corroborating they're corroborating each other, okay? But then the biggest fucking mistake happened when Eldora Gatel just had to run her cocksucker, right? Because nobody thought that anybody would go and get the Columbia Bank camera footage and to be able to see that when you zoom in, the Columbia Bank camera footage catches everybody coming and going. And Eldora Gatel's so-called pilot leaves at 7:16 and 10 seconds, meaning that if you put her in it, she could never ever see a white truck. So therefore, she could never give that testimony. Okay? So detective, either you knew she was still there and you're going to say that I didn't say that she left in the pilot. I never said what car she left in. I never said this. Exactly. Because you worded the PCA to protect yourself while railroading another motherfucker. So what do you think we should do about stuff like that? What do you think we should do for people that do stuff like this in the world? If you would have made an Excel spreadsheet and plotted, you would have known just days after the murder that the last person to see the person alive lied to you. Lied to you about what vehicle they left in. Lied to you about what time they left in. And when you put that, it doesn't matter. You don't have to think, what would be their motive to kill this person? No, you would call them the fuck back in and interview them by themselves, not with their whole fucking family. While they're praying and shit. You would call them back in and you would do what you're doing right here. Interrogate a motherfucker. This is the same thing in the Idaho4 case. These motherfuckers know that shit is not true and is not right. They know the timeline's so fucked up. Okay? But they don't have a problem with it. You guys, Brian Drake wasn't shot at 7:26. Everybody and their motherfucking knows it. But I could never think in a million thousand years that you can go out and spend almost $100,000 or almost $1 million in lawyers to like show the shit, put the shit on blast and go get the true bad guys in the situation. And instead, yesterday, I was trying to help almost 70-year-olds and been trying to help them because it's just so fucking egregious. It's so like, how do these people sleep at night type shit? It's bad. How do these lawyers sleep at night? How do these detectives sleep at night? I typed up. That smells good. Let me show you. I helped put together because I was asked to help. People were begging. I've never, you know, I helped comprise 152 question deposition for Detective Van Leuven. Then I did a 176-page report that I put together myself. And I said, call me to the stand. I've never testified before in my life, but I have nothing to lie or hide about how I found this case. The material was provided to me, but most importantly, the material could be provided to any of you people publicly. Go get it. Okay. But when you take the material, you can't just take the material. You have to create a report. Because I said, I want to do something about this because I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but like, I really truly want, and I thought that people really wanted to, like that people were truly trying to help people. Like when you get a lawyer, you think they're going to help you. So what I did is this section right here shows, I'm going to zoom in of the report, but problems with the PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheet. Where is there any supplemental report or reports that would have been drawn up comprising of the work product of ISP to plot the whereabouts of all witnesses and persons of interest on the Excel spreadsheet based off of cameras that were obtained for the purposes to substantiate their statements to law enforcement? Where is any plotted timestamp and clip of all the movements of Funderburg? Where is any plotted timestamp and clips of Paul Jacobson, Eldora Gatchell, Stephen Hartman? Where is there any footage from Super One Grocery Store? How could Super One Grocery Store cameras not be obtained after all the witnesses said that are relevant in this case so that they went there? Where is any plotted timestamps of clips of Joel Ponce? Where is any plotted timestamps and clips of the Far North staff workers leaving work? Where is any plotted timestamps and clips of the glass shop employees leaving work? Where is any plotted timestamps of Isaac Funderburg's 911 call and CAD records of said 911 call? Where is Isaac Funderburg's phone records showing calls and texts with fiance when he was at Super One? Where is Eldora Gatchel video clips of her and her brother arriving together at Super One after leaving Drake's appointment? Where is the timestamps of Brian Drake's personal phone being utilized after his death and after police are in his building to view the text messages of Brenner Drake at 8:16 and 8:17 p.m.? Where are any plotted timestamps and clips of all of the heavy police and sheriff presence in and around Brian Drake's office leading up to the 7/26 timestamp of the murder alleged? The Excel spreadsheet and PowerPoint presentation by Detective Van Leuven looks really good on paper, if and only if 7:26 p.m. is the time of the crime. However, if 7:26 p.m. is not the time of the crime, Detective Van Leuven's PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheet are mostly irrelevant, with the exception of these timestamps, 7:14 and 40 seconds to 7:17 and 42 seconds. See clips below. The white truck is at the glass shop parking lot, which the state refers to as P lot west of Tyler for obvious reasons, because they do not want to call it the glass shop parking lot, because Eyewitness Funderburg refers to it and says that that's where the person ran to. The truck would stay in the glass shop parking lot from 7:14 and 40 seconds to 7:17, but the state chooses not to mention this. Look at the gap from 7:14 and 40 seconds to 7:17. Now, compare these 7:14 and 40 gap to 7:17 p.m. to Eldora's statements about her and her brother seeing a white truck parked with its running lights on and waiting in the drive-thru of the coffee shop, but up closer to Brian Drake's building. There was no truck there at that time, at least not the white truck that Van Leuven has as Dan Moore's that is in the P lot west of Tyler during that time. Eldora's SUV is seen on Columbia Bank cameras as leaving Brian Drake's lot at 7:16 p.m. So whose white truck is Eldora talking about? Or is she making this up? Or did she know that the white truck would be coming through and exactly 1 minute after she left and to just say that was there when she was there? But how could she possibly know this? How could she predict the future? You know, that there would be, in fact, a white truck that would make the movements that Eldora described to a T at her March 19, 2020 interview if she had already gone and left the area. ISP Detective Van Leuven must not have watched the clips ad nauseum, as Detective Leslie Lehman exclaimed to Karen Moore, or this would have been easily noticed by all persons viewing this camera ad nauseum. So now let's talk about that little visit that BCSO Deputy Bobby Goat had with Eldora Gatchel at her home in Naples on Sunday, 48 hours after the murder of Brian Drake, that is unaccounted for with any reports or recordings. Let's talk about suspect vehicle number 2. The dark blue greenish Ford Explorer two-tone tan arrives at 6:16 p.m. at Drake's office, being driven by Eldora's niece and or daughter and seen by eyewitness Paul Jacobson. Let's take a look at my clips. Look at 7:14 and 40. 7:14, do you see this gap? See how the cameras are off? But here they just calculated them. Right here, 7:17 and 52 seconds. And this is the camera that they get it from. Where is the 7:16 and 10 seconds and 20 seconds showing that Eldora Gatchel left in a pilot, supposedly? So then how the fuck could she possibly ever have seen this, you motherfucking cocksuckers? I supplied this on a fucking platter. On a motherfucking platter. To a lawyer. A lawyer that got paid 200 motherfucking grand and didn't do a damn thing. And in fact, wanted and tried to withdraw from a case. Blew off depositions, you know. Right here's the proof. 7:17, 52 seconds. Moore's truck that they're labeling, northbound on Denver, northbound 95 into Far North lot, around the logo shop, through drive-through, past window where shot was fired, around other side, backs up, and then sits there. 7:17 52 seconds. This is Eldora saying that I couldn't leave out the drive-through because it was blocked by a white truck with its running lights on. Bitch, you a fucking liar. And these fucking cops knew it. And there's about to be a judgment of $10 million. I have reason to believe that Dr. Moore and Karen Moore did a default judgment because they threatened him that he was going to prison if they showed up. They were going to rearrest him for the murder of Brian Drake. These are the same people that investigated the Idaho4 case. The amount of excluded factual information that directly contradicts the time of the crime being at 7:26 p.m. The 18 local businesses are the only digital information that was used to comprise ISP's narrative of events, with the exception of victim's wife's hearsay statements of transcribed on a phone call between 7:17 and 7:26 p.m. Idaho State Police only followed one vehicle throughout all clips associated with their Excel spreadsheet, which was the narrative of each PowerPoint clip, and chose to ignore eyewitness statements from Stephen Hartman, Isaac Funderburg, Aaliyah Sandlin, Paul Jacobson, Eldora Gatel, Tim Hand, and Michaela Burt. In addition to ignoring witness statements, ISP ignored or did not include cast data, locations of individuals from forensic phone data dumps, dispatch log reports, and cell tower data dumps, which directly contradict the time of the crime that Idaho State Police associate with the murders of Brian Drake. They did it in a murder case right here in 2020. They got another murder case in 2022, and you want us to believe that the time of the crime is between 4 and 4:25. Kiss my fucking ass. I can prove that you guys know that shit's wrong and you don't care. Oh, my bad. Maybe there. Oh, wait, it's in it. Mm-hmm. Verizon cell tower data dump. Caption below from 7:27 p.m. to 7:35 p.m. Right here. I took the cell tower data dump. Verizon. To show, as you can see, like this is the military time. Okay. And what I wanted to show and prove was Isaac Funderburg phone records in Celebrate and Boundary County itemized 911 non-emergency calls from 3/12/2020. It is unreasonable to believe that Idaho State Police wouldn't have conducted more interviews and or obtained more information in terms of voluntary downloading cell phones or seeking search warrants for relevant material to fact check Funderburg's witness statements or relevant facts that Funderburg disclosed in prior interviews where he could not be 100% on details, such as the times of when he said acts like call 911, or what time he heard the gunshots, or what time he went chasing after the suspicious person, or what time he saw a suspicious person in the green or blue older SUV at Lesh Swap parking lot, or what time he went to the store for mustard, and finally what time he encountered Stephen Hartman. I typed up every single word in this report. Every single fucking word. And what I did is I took their little fucking probable cause affidavit, took the clips of it, this portion, whatever the fuck it says, contradicting unsubstantiated material. Bonners Ferry and Boundary County Sheriff's Office body cams and crime scene photos prove there are two doors that access Dr. Drake's Suite B at 6811 Main Street, not one as stated in the PCA by Idaho State Police Detective Van Leuven. One of the doors was locked from the inside, but the other door was unlocked and is mentioned by law enforcement on body cam. Boundary County Sheriff's deputies as well as Bonners Ferry police officers responded to the scene. Responding officers found a bullet hole through the window of the exam room of Dr. Drake's office. Officers found the door to Dr. Drake's office to be locked and broke it down. Dr. Drake had 2 doors to get into his office. Okay? To get into the suite. Then there is a front blue door and a back glass door to get into the actual building. Both of those doors were unlocked, the glass and the blue door unlocked. None of them were dusted for fingerprints until the 17th, 5 days after the murder. Way to go, Idaho State Police. I said once this trial happened, I was all in on telling you guys how these motherfuckers operate. Number 12 here. This is, I read this eyewitness bullshit. All right, here you go. Contradicting material. I took the transcribed interview with Isaac Funderburg where it says, let me zoom in. This is all 100% rebuttal shit to their bullshit. Spain, Ireland. He is probably about my height. He is a little bit bulkier than me, not muscle, but he has some more fat than I do. Little chunky. I don't really know how to describe him. He's got a little mustache, maybe. Well, start down the bottom. What do you remember about his feet? I don't remember his feet. Who the fuck asks that? How about the pants? I remember he was wearing black sweatpants and a black hoodie. I think he had a gray vest on. Maybe it was the way the light was reflecting, but I remember seeing a vest. And he had a beanie. Where the fuck is that in your probable cause? And then you were sent the video. You were sent this. I gave this all. Literally, Dana, Matt did your work for you. Did it all for you.
Yes, this is not an emergency, correct?
What is that man wearing right there? A beanie, a gray sweater, black on black, dark skin, and facial hair. This video was taken just moments before the murder.
Yes, it is.
Right there. Best part about it is, well, I said, well, let's play super, super devil's advocate, right? Or I was like, wait, it's not devil's advocate. It's more like, let's play fucking logic. I said, let's say that you guys are right here. Eldora gets in her little happy little pilot, and Caleb gets in there as well. And they're like, okay, we're off to now go to Super 1, motherfucker. Right? But before they would have went to Super 1, Isaac Funderburg toe tags this motherfucker from like literally top to bottom, identifies him. That means that if they left at the pilot, which left at 7:16 p.m., that means that Isaac Funderburg would have had to see him when? before 7/16, right? Is that right? And to be able to see this description, right? Is that right? So if you were a detective and this guy, Isaac, tells you this, and you're like, well, fuck, man. He had to see this guy before 7/16, which is before the phone call that Brian Drake made to Jennifer Drake, right? How does a dead man make a phone call? I mean, there are so many ways that you could defend this case that whatever this asshole would say on the stand, it's like, all right, well, detective, he narrows down this guy like that. And if you want to believe that there was some white truck that we just magically couldn't see it, it was really there and it was really blocking them. Okay, awesome. But you cannot change the fact that it would have been before the call at 7:17 and 40 seconds that he would have seen this guy, right? Because once he's in the car and drove off, he's not going to see him, right? He can't possibly see him. He can't possibly say black with the freaking gray vest and a beanie and fucking facial hair and he's dark skinned, right? He has to see him before 7:16, right? This is how these cops, where's your brains? Yeah, so that means that the shot was before 7:16, right? So Brian Drake and Jennifer Drake talking on the phone and supposedly this happened at 7:26. Just like now, let's talk about the Idaho4 murders. You are so flawed, it's not even funny. This is the people that are investigating cases. Absolutely horrible. Just fucking fundamentally horrible. So bad. You guys, the live's progressing in multiple ways. I said it yesterday. We're going to be live about the Bryan Idaho4 case. But if you want to understand the investigation and you actually want to have a leg to stand on when you want to argue a position that you would have in this case, my position in this case is that I wouldn't trust these motherfuckers for anything. How do you write something? People were murdered. People were fucking murdered. People were shot and stabbed and killed. And this is the work that they're doing. You guys, when you show a pattern, that's when someone's going to listen. Because people can make mistakes and we're human, we're going to make mistakes. But when it's a pattern and it's a behavior and it's a culture, that's corruption. And Idaho State Police, everything that they put their hands in, because if you have incompetent workers and you don't change it, then it becomes corrupt. Because like, how do you not change that? Like, how do I run a business but have shitty ass employees? I would have to get rid of them and get better employees. Otherwise, I wouldn't make any money, right? And I would lose my business. I mean, this is a different beast. And it may be improper to, oh, you're calling people out. Fuck yeah, I'm calling people out. What do you want me to say about this shit? Oh, here, it looks like you made a mistake. You might want to look this over. This isn't a mistake is one thing. This is fucking crazy. Who needs to write up 17 and 19 pages for a probable cause? Who needs to write a story? Well, I guess you have to when you don't have anything else, right? Yeah. So think about Dylan and Bethany here. That's the statement I just gave. And this and how you're using it and the probable cause then. Okay. This is how Van Leuven says it. An eyewitness named Isaac Funderburg was outside of his apartment near his car when he reported hearing a gunshot from across the street. Funderburg's apartment was located directly across the street from Dr. Drake's office. Funderburg later advised he observed an adult male dressed in dark-colored clothing walking northwest from between Dr. Drake's building and a fence on the north side of the building immediately after hearing the shot. So this person who he identifies and who he sees immediately after the shot, right? It had to be before 7:16, before they get into the car, right? Because if you still want to go with the police narrative that, oh yeah, Caleb and them, they just got in that vehicle and they left. So he would have had to see this guy before 7:16. Is that before or after, Detective? Brian Drake's phone. This is how I realized I was like, wait a second. This was the moment that I realized when I was doing this investigation. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I got to look at those Columbia Bank cameras again. I was like, I'm missing something because, yes, he did see him earlier, but how did the phone call happen? Okay. Because there were two shots, you guys. The first shot is the shot that went into Brian Drake. The second shot was the staging of the crime scene. Okay. And Aaliyah Sandlin tells us that, and the cops confirm that when they are interviewing her, which we're about to get to. But I said to myself, I was like, okay, wait a second. We got to go back to Columbia Bank. I got to look at those camera. I was like, these motherfuckers had to, like, because you just want to take them at, I was like, there's no way that they're really putting in evidence a Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to be able to just blow, like, or anybody that like goes through it. I mean, come on. And I realized, I was like, you know what? They only plotted the one vehicle. The one vehicle. Who makes a timeline and only plots one vehicle's movements and thinks that that even is anything? You know, so it's kind of like the Idaho4 case where you're like, you only want to talk about the movements of this alleged one, but you don't want to talk about anything else. And it's like, look right here, don't look anywhere else type of thing. So I used this as truly how to navigate, because it was groupthink with the Idaho4 case. They used local law enforcement, they used Idaho State Police, they used the prosecutor's office, and then they used the feds. The feds were involved in this case as well. Ed Jacobson, come on down, baby. Let's talk about it. So this is what it looks like. These are the words that he actually said. And then this is how this man is putting it in a probable cause affidavit. And he knows that if he puts the words in there about this guy being of dark skin, okay, that it's going to just, that's, Dr. Moore is as white. He's so white. He's so pale. Okay. And he's never had facial hair in his entire life. What's that, Misha girl? So, then Marty Ryan wants him to talk about his, okay, how about the skin color, the skin tone? He says it right there. Can you give me, take him out of your mind. I know that's not an easy one. Take him out of your mind. Just think about the picture you say on his face. Like, this is crazy. And he's like, he's probably Tanner, and he looks shocked that I yelled at him. He looks super shocked that I yelled at him, because most people wouldn't yell at somebody after they shot. Confront them. Was that you? After they shot. Look at how he slips up and says after they shot. Like after they shot someone. And then in big bold letter, or not big bold, but in that interview, I went back and I said, holy shit, look at this. I said, because I'm trying to find a second vehicle because Eldora Gatel had to get out of there a different way. I have a couple more things before this whole event started out. There was 2 SUVs. There is a green one parked on the other side of this one over here. Oh my God, I lost it. A car kind of similar to the one I saw further down the road, like in the store further down the road. It was like sitting there for a solid 30 minutes or with its headlights shining. Right here, this green SUV is the Explorer that Paul Jacobson sees. Let me back this out. Look at this. Contradicting. Oh, wait, since I just showed you guys about the car. So then I go and I find the car. Right here. That's really because the times were off. So that's at 6:46 and 24 seconds. Okay. It's not 7:46. It's actually 6:46. And now I want you to remember what happened at 6:42. What happened? 6:42, 6:43 p.m. Jennifer Drake's cell phone calls Brian Drake's cell phone. He picks it up and says, "Oh, I'm still with patients," right? That, again, was a staged phone call for them to extend Brian Drake's life. The time that we know Brian Drake was alive, just kind of like the Idaho4, is we know we can put the girls alive. We have them on the grub truck video. And then you have to keep moving from that to be able to say, how can we place them knowingly knowing that they're alive? So in this case, at 6:42 and 6:43 at that phone call, Eldora and Jennifer Drake, working in concert again, are continuing to extend Brian Drake's life. The last known time that we know that Brian Drake was alive was the video that was recording, and right when Paul Jacobson leaves, because we have Paul Jacobson saying, "I'm leaving the doctor's office, just got my back, and when I'm leaving, these two are in here and they're playing the ukulele," and, so that's the last known time that we know that Brian Drake's alive. The rest of the times, everything is Jennifer Drake and Eldora Gatel. So think of it like anybody so they're pushing the time of the crime. They're making it seem like Brian Drake is alive when he's not. Okay. And then when you go with the eye, and so here we have leaving up out of the back of Brian Drake's office and coming here and being seen on the camera is the SUV that entered at 6:16 p.m. that Paul Jacobson saw. And it was there for 10 minutes. And then it left. And then it came back at 6:30 and then left here and came out the back. And I'm going to zoom in and show you. And I get all of this. I do the timestamps, the whole big shebang. And there it is. And this is the street here. This is the gas station. But right here, if you go off to the left and you turn back down there, that's El Paso. See that where that's a vehicle coming right there? It comes up like this, and then it will turn to come on the main road. But right where that kind of vehicle is if you go right back, that's where the back alley is into Drake's. So remember how they want to say, oh, there was this white truck that was circling and doing whatever. Well, let's talk about this SUV that was doing that shit earlier. Thank you. Here's what was put in the report. 2 gunshots. The guy was running towards town. Transfer 911 call from Bonner, not Kootenai County. So here it is. And this is straight from the CAD, Drake CAD. This is straight from, it says reporting party advises of hearing 2 gunshots in the area of Les Schwab and seeing a person run towards town. Second 911 transfer from Bonner County of wife on the phone with her husband when he said he had been hit or shot and then wasn't answering any other calls. That would mean that 911 call would have to happen after she would have attempted to call him again, right? Well, she didn't attempt to call him again until 7:32. And they're trying to say that Jennifer Drake called at 7:29. Mind you, none of Jennifer Drake's phone calls to 911 are on her cell phone. Not in the extraction, not on nothing. Reporting party advises of hearing 2 gunshots. They buried this. Now take a look at this. 3/12/2020, 1947 hours. 15:07, this is M1. 6811 Main Street, Bonners Ferry. Subject running on El Paso towards Main Street. Medic 1 is advising and putting this in at 7:47. You guys see that right there? Who was running around at 7:47? Remember Oh, that's right. This is Michaela Burt. Michaela Burt's over here saying there was a black car following the cops around. Like, she interviewed with the police. She's a medic. And is like, there was 2 people in that vehicle. That's the car that was with the green SUV. And I found it catching air on the cameras at 6:52 p.m. Out of the back, catches air literally because it's going so fast. It's catching air to get the fuck up out of there. And it goes up, turns around in Moore's parking lot, comes back down, and then takes off and goes north towards Canada. 6:52 p.m. 6:46, you see the green SUV, Explorer. All this stuff is happening all back in there way before. That's why I said none of your Excel spreadsheet, Van Leuven, means a motherfucking thing. Because your Excel spreadsheet starts at 7:14 p.m. Jerk off with that shit. Spit and slap. It's so sick. That one's for Donna. You like that, Donna? 7:14 p.m. How was that relevant? Look at that Drake said it was there on the phone with my husband and got shot. Really? I'll put all my poker chips on the fact that Jennifer Drake was on the phone with Eldora Gatel, Caleb Coco and Azara, or the niece. fuck, throw a cop in there. You want to know how I know this? Because of the evidence. Because of the fucking evidence. The evidence that they ignored. Medic was staged directly in view of El Paso and Main Street to see a subject running on El Paso towards Main Street. This radio needs to be heard to hear exactly how M1 stated it over the radio. Why is M1 staging radio information not in the correct spot of the CAD and instead at the end of the CAD and a timestamp that is associated with 3/13/2020, exactly 24 hours after the event? Let me show you what I mean by that. CADs go in chronological order right when you type something in. Okay. The missing CAD notes for M1 and M10, that's Medic 1, Medic 10, staging at Liberty at 3/12/2020, and somehow it was placed exactly, look at this, placed on the entire next day at 3/13/2020 at the exact time of the staging from the murder night, which is the night before. I said, take a look at this. Here it's saying, like, you know, out at the armory with the vehicle, 6811 Bonners Ferry, staging at Liberty Mobile. That's the gas station. Staging at Liberty Mobile. Wait a second. What? At 7:37 p.m. on 3/13/2020? Who went into the computer system and put these in? You weren't staging Medic. This happened on 3/12, the night of the murder. And what staging mean is you go to an area and you wait because nobody needed any help yet because there wasn't anybody that was found dying, bleeding, nothing. So this should be on the CAD reports on 3/12/2020 at this timestamp. That's when I said, dude, they're working with two different CADs and they're fucking copy, cut, and paste fucking the CADs. And then I asked some people that are in law enforcement, have you ever seen something like this in your life? And they said, no, there is seriously something wrong. This is not how that works. This is a problem. Perfect. That's what I thought too. A big problem. At one point in the investigation, they had an autistic person as a person of interest who worked at Burger Express. That's how amazing these motherfuckers are. L. Hagler worked at Burger King Express in Bonners Ferry from noon to 5 on March 12, 2020. Then came home, had to go back to Burger Express in the evening for an employee meeting. Hagler heard a loud noise as he was going back to Burger Express. He said, L. Hagler said people at UMC were talking about a shooting. K. Hagler is the pastor at UMC and said there would have been an Alcoholic Anonymous AA meeting at the church at approximately the same time as the shooting. Now, if you guys have been following along, Brian's sweater had dirt on the back of it. Clearly wasn't shot through no fucking window in his office. His office is in carpet in beautiful condition. Clearly Brian was outside on his back at some point, and his sweater got all fucked up with dirt. And it's in the autopsy report. But it is never addressed. Well, we're going to address that. So you're telling me that at this 7:26 time, which would have been like, at 7:30, there was an AA meeting, which Bryan would have, oh, he has that problem, right? Nobody went and interviewed anybody from the AA people. Nobody tried to. Hey, does anybody want to talk anonymously to us? Get a tip. Have you ever seen this man before? Has he ever been at a meeting? How about the fucking pastor? Have you ever seen this man at a meeting? I know it's anonymous, but hey, he was murdered. If you want to help out. Or wait, the murder wasn't at 7:26. That's right. It was, I think it's 6:45. Okay. You're right. We don't even have to talk to them. Let's just continue on. No interviews were done by ISP, or if so, they're not in discovery of anyone from UMC Church or the staff at Burger Express to see what time the employee meeting was on the night of the murder. Also, was Hagler located on surveillance cameras coming and going from Burger Express? I mean, why would he be a person of interest, the son of Hagler? Just unreal, just so stupid. Like, laughable. Here's some contradicting statements. So Spencer Van Ling is the husband of Amber Van Ling, who was in the vehicle with Jennifer Drake. And so I'm pointing out that in Mr. Van Ling's interview, Mr. Van Ling told us that on the night of March 12th, he was home with his wife, Amber, and the children when Jennifer Drake telephoned Amber. This was between 7:30 and 7:40. Amber told him and kids that she was going over to the Drake's home and that Bryan Drake had been shot in Bonners Ferry. Ready? Well, phone records cleared this up real quick. Jennifer Drake didn't call Amber at between 7:30 and 7:40. Okay. And they didn't talk between 7:30 and 7:40. Jennifer Drake attempted to call Amber at 7:52, 7:51, something like that. And then texted Amber and said, hey, can you call me? And then at 8:07, Amber finally calls Jennifer back. And so that's the actual times. All right. Later, Amber telephoned Spencer Van Ling to tell him that she, Jennifer, along with Jonathan and Ray Dean Owens, the pastors of the Heart of the City Church, were driving up to Bonners Ferry. They later turned around and came back after finding out that Bryan Drake was dead. Mr. Van Ling told us that he knew that Drake drank liquor and beer, but never saw him drunk. He didn't know why the Drakes moved from Texas to Idaho. Mr. Van Ling was aware that Bryan Drake had back problems and broke his leg after slipping on the ice. He did not know where this happened. Mr. Van Ling said some folks gave the Drakes some money, $1,000 to $3,000, when Bryan Drake couldn't work after the injury. This was Spencer and Josh's idea. Now, to be fair and to show you how funny I am, I test people and I said, okay, so this is the contradictions, but the way that I did it is I left it blank. According to the phone records, Jennifer Drake phoned Amber Van Ling and she did not answer at what time. I wanted to see if these lawyers knew a damn thing about the case. Left that blank for them. Then I said, Jennifer Drake then texted Amber Van Ling at what time? Amber Van Ling called Jennifer Drake for the first time at what time? We do have Amber Van Ling's phone records to show, we do not have Amber Van Ling's phone records to show what time Amber Van Ling had called her husband Spencer, as stated in this paragraph, number 8, where Amber Van Ling was never interviewed by Idaho State Police ever, never once. The real big contradictions come when it was like, wait a second. Amber Vanling's husband says that Amber drove over to Jen's, right? Why don't we ask Jen what she said she did? She said that she drove over to Amber's. Ah! What? Okay. Just no biggie. Who cares? Pastor Owens interview. Timeline of March 12, 2020. Murder and financial situation. Pastor Owens said he had no knowledge of infidelity in the Drake's family or that they were romantically or sexually involved with other people outside of their marriage. He knew that they were having financial struggles because Bryan Drake had back surgery, and that put him out of work for several weeks. Then Drake broke his leg, which also put them back financially. The church donated money to the Drakes to help them. Really? How much? Pastor Owens told us that that was not unusual for the church. The church was an in-house benevolence fund and an out-of-house benevolence fund. This means that those who are members of the church can receive funds as well as those who are not members. They can also receive funds. These HOO or HOCC donations, I call it HOCC, which is the Heart of the City Church donations, would be in addition to the Good Samaritan PayPal donations they received from numerous donors due to Jennifer Drake submitted to a letter. Jennifer Drake received over $30,000 in cash through PayPal the months leading up to her husband's murder. They are part of Good Samaritan, and you submit, you have to be with them for at least a year to be able to get it covered for back surgery. So Bryan Drake waited it out. They put their letter in. And all of a sudden, literally $464. Jennifer Drake's PayPal account was just they were making more money the more that Bryan was getting injured. Swear to God. Like, go look up how Good Samaritan works. People just send you money if you are part of it. And she signed up her PayPal account. And so now the question is you're not allowed to do this. You cannot use the money to live off of. Okay. You have to use the money. Okay. You have to use the money and actually pay your medical expenses. Well, I have proof that they use this money to pay for their house payment, to pay their credit card bills, that's not what the fund is for. And Jen knew she would never have to worry about paying that medical bill, would she? Not if Bryan's dead. Holy shit, Lannis, you're sitting here saying that you're just getting thousands upon thousands of dollars. Oh yeah, like every other day there was like $3 or $4 grand being deposited into the PayPal, and then it would be transferred into their checking account. And, then she's sitting there paying bills. And I think that she should have to show that she paid his back surgery, right? In the hospital. And I just think that's going to be hard to prove because when she was supposed to pay it, because there's just not enough money because you just do the math. I'm very good with math. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Then she lies. Jennifer Drake lies. They were Airbnb-ing their own home. Yes. Their own home. Their kids were sleeping on the floor at places, in the car, going camping. They would go on vacations, Jennifer and Bryan, and the kids would go off with friends and stay. I would love to ask Jennifer how many vacations when Bryan was alive she took between just those two versus like the whole family going on vacation. What do you think the ratio is? Let me tell you what my ratio is as a parent going on vacation without my kid. It doesn't fucking happen. Like, you want to give every experience possible to your kid. You want, you're their mom, man. You're their dad. You just want to, make memories. And so let me explain something to you how it would look to a detective. You didn't know that they had this, how the Good Samaritan works, okay? So how it would look on paper, okay? How this little thing would look is it would look like, wow, Jennifer Drake is just really receiving mad money into this account that she never gets money in because she is not the working person in the family. And literally 2 months before he was murdered, she would have enough money to put out a hit on her husband. That's how bad it would look, that you had like 30 G's in cash. Okay. And like, these are accounts that never were seeing money like this. Right. And like, it would just look that bad. Do I think that that's what Jennifer did? I have no idea what Jennifer did, but anybody that is a detective would be like, holy shit, look at this account. In December alone, she brought in $21,000 into an account that has never seen more than money being transferred from the business that they run into that account. So where is this money coming from? You would have to answer that question. Pastor Owen said he was home with his wife, Amber. Well, his wife isn't named Amber. Look at how bad these are. Pastor Owen said he was home with his wife, Amber, when Jennifer Drake telephoned and told them about Bryan Drake being shot in Bonners Ferry. Well, thank God Lana looked into this. And I was like, the fuck? She didn't call that woman. Jen didn't call this woman. So here we have a pastor who was interviewed and said he wanted to have his lawyer present. Okay. And he claims, because they said, well, how did you find out about, the shooting? Oh, yeah. Pastor Owen said that he was home with his wife. Her name's not Amber, Radine. When Jennifer Drake telephoned and told them about Bryan Drake being shot in Bonners Ferry. Well, I said, that's not on Jennifer Drake's phone records. Could it have happened? Sure, if they used an app, if you called me on like FaceTime, or like WhatsApp, or, you can call me and use an app. You can also call me and not use that phone. You know what I mean? Or you could have actually called from Amber Van Ling's phone, right? Because they were together. But we don't know what time that phone call was at because it's non-existent. So when you would have heard them say to you as a detective that Jennifer called you, the Owens then went over to the Drake's house. Pastor Owens, his wife, and I said, what? Pastor Owens said that he went over to Jennifer Drake's house. Yeah, he said Pastor Owens, his wife, Amber, who they're still thinking the name's Amber, and Jennifer then started driving north to Bonners Ferry. Like they all drove there together. That's not what fucking happened at all. En route to Bonner's Ferry, they received a telephone call from someone in law enforcement saying that Brian Drake was dead. So they decided to turn around and went back to the Drake's home. You guys, none of that is actually in the recording. So like, if you just take this from what the written report is, that's what it says in this written report, in report supplemental 18. And I clip these little segments and I say, so when I made this whole thing up, I'm like, this is crazy. Okay. And so here I say, Jennifer Drake made no call to Pastor John Owens' wife, who is not named Amber. Her name is Radine Owens. Pastor Owens did not say in his interview that he went to the Drake's home before traveling north to Bonner's Ferry, as reported in this supplemental report. Pastor Owens did not drive with Amber and Jennifer up to Bonner's Ferry. Phone records of Pastor Owens' wife would be beneficial to see what time she received her phone call and from what number on the night of the murder to see who in fact called her, as Jennifer's cell phone does not have this outgoing call. I mean, I can just consult with you, Idaho. I'd be happy to consult with you. Pastor's wife was never interviewed, or if she was, it was not disclosed to the defense in discovery. The actual person who talked to Jennifer Drake would be the person that you would want to, I don't know, interview maybe. When we asked about video recordings about the church or around the church, Pastor Owens said that the lead or head of the security team was Joe Hutchinson. Now, this is where it got really good. You guys that are all conspiracy theorists out there. Idaho4 case, right? We got drugs, right? Yeah, Lana, come on, talk about those drugs. Let's talk about those drugs. Heart of the City Church, whatever it's called, HOCC. Well, first of all, the cops were given this Joe Hutchinson's number. Okay. Do you think they called Joe Hutchinson and interviewed him? Well, let me just tell you, if they did, they didn't turn it over. No interview was ever put into evidence pertaining to Joe Hutchinson or any camera surveillance. Okay. Now, I had numerous people over the course of time basically want to come forward with very, very interesting information that I was able to corroborate that, yeah, it's true. And one of those things is that the Idaho State Police and Heart of the City Church have a very interesting relationship. They have a room. Heart of the City Church, Ray Dean and John Owens put a room together that has a little kitchenette, a little bed area. And it's for the Idaho State Police to just come whenever they want and get away. And just, I don't know. And the person that they're really close with was John Kemp, who is in charge of, he was the captain over there at Idaho State Police with all the drug shit. He's the one that they made look like a feminine woman in his retirement photo, which was just absurd. He's also the one that called Jennifer Drake a couple of different times. And that finally came out in some reports, which then I did some digging. And so John Kemp is in charge of all these CIs with the drug world. Okay. But John Kemp has a daughter. And John Kemp's daughter is into horses. She loves horses. She has her own fucking farm and has horses. And it's really cute. It really is. And she's happily married to, I don't know, a guy from, he doesn't look like he's from here. But Eldora Gatchell's daughter, she loves horses and she has a horse farm too. What are the odds, right? Like two females, Eldora Gatchell's daughter, and they're kind of in the same area, like right there in Coeur d'Alene area, like, you know, Hayden, you know, Athol, all that shit over there, where that big billboard is. And I said, wow, what is the fucking odds that In John Owens' interview that Gary Tolson didn't want to talk about, John Owens says that I called a friend in law enforcement to see if he had any information on what was going on about Brian Drake's shooting. Okay. And I think that that friend just might be John Kemp. That's why I would love to see these phone records, because they were getting and receiving like hella information, hella fast, knew all this shit. And I'm just like, who are these people? Like, oh, well, the pastor of this church where, you know, they've taken a lot of Spokane folks that are drug recovering people and moms that have kids and they have nowhere to go and blah, 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 blah. But here they made a room for the police. I would love to know what goes on in that room. I would love to know if the cameras point to that room outside to see who comes and goes and what time they come and go and who's really truly going in that room. What that room is truly being used for. Very interesting shit. But nonetheless, John Kemp all of a sudden, out of the blue, retires fucking crazy style, runs off. Eldora Gatchel fucking poof isn't going to be Jen Drake's witness anymore, because I'm clearly outed the fuck out of all of this shit. And John Kemp, I said, who the fuck would be protecting Eldora Gatchel? Who is Eldora Gatchel? Who gives a fuck? You know, somebody committed murder. Who gives a shit, right? Why would Eldora Gatchel have any pull in anything? She lied. Call her back in and find out why, right? Last person to see this man alive right before he is murdered. And the eyewitness is putting the brother as being the guy that was running away. Now, could Eldora Gatchel and Caleb Coco-Nazar have been witnesses to an ambush of Brian Drake and they freaked out and they ran and blah, blah, blah? Hell yeah, they could be. But we don't know because the police didn't do their job. But Eldora Gatchel took notes and had a notebook. So then when she sat down with the police, she said, let me look at my notes. Excuse me? Is that not a red flag to you as an officer? Because what do you mean your notes? Like, girl, yeah, I'm just making sure I remember everything here. Okay, get your story straight. I gotcha. Ridiculous shit. So yeah, John Kemp, who was the captain of the Idaho State Police and ran the drug division, ran the CIs. He really good friends with John Owens, Ray Dean Owens. And I would just love to know if Eldora Gatchel and John Kemp happen to know each other because their daughters are around the same age and they have horse farms in the area. When I say horse farms, like they like show the horses, ride the horses, whatever the fuck that shit's called. What is that shit called? Best in show? What is it when you show your like the
show your dog?
Well, when you show your horses, like what is it? I need to call up my friend Hallie. She does that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to call her. I need to call her right now and ask her. I have a ton of horse questions for you. Because these people travel all over and they have like these trucks with these huge ass trailers. It'd be a great way to transport drugs, wouldn't it? Equestrian, is that it? I don't know.
Equestrian is just about horses, period. I mean, it's about
No, this shit is like you sell, like you're trying to get like these winners and like show ponies.
You don't put drugs with really expensive horses.
Well, obviously that, but I'm saying like if you're traveling all around, you're not going to put the drugs with the horses, but you could transport it and act like you're.
You would just do it like you do in Delphi. You just feed it to the pigs and then gut the pigs later.
You guys know what I'm talking about, okay? I've really never done a deep dive on the horse world, but you know, a really interesting way that back in the day in Aliquippa, they were transporting drugs through when people would die and have funerals. Okay, think about how smart this was. When people would die and have funerals, they're like, okay, hey, we're ready to move the product because we have the police escorting us to run these lights, right? The police are escorting us. We're in this procession line. We have our drugs. We're moving our drugs through the procession line. But we also have, what are those? What are they called? The thing that you put the casket in, the car.
Coffin?
No,
The hearse.
The hearse. That's it. The hearse.
Yeah,
So you have a couple of these hearse. You have a couple of these, got some limos, but the big thing is that, fuck, man, we have police escorting us. Like, fuck yeah, let's think about this. We're gonna have police escorting us. They are gonna be escorting us, and we're gonna be moving this shit around to where, that's how we do it. We're gonna use the casket to pack that shit up around that body, or if there's really not a body, or if it's really that the person was cremated, but we're gonna make it seem like there's a body, but it's really the drugs. Okay. Fucking pretty genius, if you ask me. I always give props to people when when somebody went into some thinking. But the best part about it is that you're having the police literally when have you ever seen somebody get pulled over in a procession line because they were, I don't know, speeding or never. It's just great. It's just fabulous. Look it up. I thought that whoever came up with that idea was pretty good. But that's when they would, hey, we're moving stuff. So-and-so's got there's a funeral and yada, yada, yada. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This is the second to last patient, Paul Jacobson. Paul Jacobson had an appointment with Brian Drake that started late due to Drake being behind schedule. Upon Paul Jacobson leaving, he was met by two Hawaiian-looking persons in the waiting room of Brian Drake's office, one man and one woman. The male was playing the ukulele. This is me writing this. These two persons would be later identified by ISP as Eldora Gatel and her brother Caleb Azara, whom incredibly at this time were videotaping Brian Drake's final movements before he would be murdered. Paul Jacobson identified his truck for Idaho State Police, and then unknown to Paul Jacobson, Idaho State Police then discreetly photographed his truck. Based on the conversations in Eldora Gatel's interview, this picture of Paul Jacobson's truck was sent via text message between detectives to then be shown to Eldora Gatel and family during their family interview. Both Paul Jacobson and Eldora Gatel / family were interviewed on the same day, March 19th, 2020, and about the same time, helping prove that this media file was sent for Eldora's identification purposes. I was able to go back and cite some things with a couple different points about that. To change that even up a little bit better. Paul Jacobson advised Idaho State's police detectives during his interview that when he was leaving his appointment, so this is me writing this. When he was leaving his appointment and walking to his truck in Drake's lot, he encountered an SUV that was entering the parking lot at the same time that he was walking out and over to his truck. Paul Jacobson told detectives that the driver of this SUV looked like it could be the daughter of the woman inside. Paul Jacobson could not remember the color of the SUV during his interview, but did importantly note that the SUV that was being driven by this younger female driver, who looked to be the daughter of Eldora, was not the same SUV that was seen on Columbia Bank cameras to be Eldora Gachel's pilot at 6:03 p.m. Due to that pilot, as Paul Jacobson says, it was already parked and accounted for next to Brian Drake's white SUV before Paul Jacobson came then in contact with the second SUV, the younger female driver. So he says that in his interview. He's like, oh, yeah, no, that SUV for them was parked right next to the doctor's right here. Incredibly, Paul Jacobson, during his interview with Idaho State Police, described Brian Drake's parking lot at 6:17 p.m. to not only have one of Eldora Gachel's family vehicles in the parking lot, but possibly two vehicles present at the same time and at the location of Brian Drake's soon-to-be homicide scene. Eldora confirmed through her interview that she parked next to Brian Drake's white SUV when she arrived for her appointment at 6:03 p.m. Columbia Bank cameras have confirmed that Paul Jacobson would be correct, as the dark blue greenish SUV with a two-tone tan bottom was pulling into Drake's office at 6:16 p.m. The Columbia Bank cameras then locates within a minute of that SUV arriving in Brian Drake's parking lot, Paul Jacobson's work truck pulling out of Drake's office. Columbia Bank camera clearly identifies Paul Jacobson's work truck turning left out of Drake's lot and heading south on 95 towards Paul Jacobson's house, just as Paul Jacobson told Idaho State Police detectives. Again, all of these movements are not only spoke of by Paul Jacobson, but then substantiated by the Columbia Bank cameras. Now, I want you to see here, that's a picture of Eldora's niece. Beautiful girl. That's a picture of Eldora. Paul Jacobson states within his interview that the person who was driving the SUV looked like the woman's daughter that was inside Drake's. This SUV was captured and followed into Drake's far north, 6:16 p.m., just as Paul Jacobson stated. Here's the vehicle. This is from a still shot. And then here's Paul Jacobson's vehicle leaving on the same camera. See? There's a liquor store back there. Okay. So this is the vehicle at 6:16, right before it's going to be turning into Brian's. And this is Paul Jacobson leaving at 6:17. Okay. Dark green, bluish, older SUV, Columbia Bank camera, 6:16. Paul Jacobson's gray truck, Columbia Bank camera, 6:17. Then that same vehicle, here it is. Now here it is again. Do you see this? This is 6:26 and 55 seconds. And remember, because it's off an hour. So here it is. See how you can tell the front hubcap here on the left side of the wheel? You know when your tires get kind of fucked up and they are black? There's the rims that got caked up shit on it. Well, this one has that issue. See? This vehicle would have spent 10 minutes in the back parking lot of Drake's. Okay? Also, something that's Paul Jacobson says is he says the words they when referring to the SUV that's pulling in with the new niece girl. Okay? That they, like there was somebody else in the car, but the woman was the female driver. All right. Here it is capturing, it's pulling out the back and comes here. And so I get a good, I mean, these are just stills, but the video I have to show you that if you're going to say that vehicles are circling and that means something to you and it keeps coming back and blah, 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 well, then that would work across the board. All right. But this SUV that spent 10 minutes back in Drake's that had a Hawaiian woman driving that was not obviously Eldora Gacel because she was inside playing the ukulele or videotaping him playing the ukulele rather. Who is the driver of this vehicle? And then here it is a second time at the 46. It's coming again. I mean, they did no work in this case. None. Who goes and gets a Life 360 app data search warrant and only gets the data for one of the members of the family? Is that even possible? I'm looking into that right now. Jennifer Drake's Life 360 search warrant return. Only Bryan Drake's Life 360 data was obtained. Jennifer Drake's Life 360 data for 6 months before and after the murder. Any other family members on Life 360 plan, which come to find out, we believe that Brenner was on there. He was a freshly new driver. Such as Brenner Drake, as Brenner Drake was, a new driver and reasonable to think that he would be on the family Life 360 plan. Brenner's whereabouts should be important after Idaho State Police were told by Jennifer's sister, Emily, that Brenner Drake was abused by his father. And seeing that Idaho State Police believed that a 16-year-old could be responsible for the crime with another family when they were doing this investigation, okay, then it would be reasonable to think that this person who was 16 at the time could have been capable of the murder. Fucking assholes. And it was said because Stephanie Butler and Bryan Drake were banging. Now, the Drake family owned guns. There was no items seized from the Drake home to include firearms. 3 firearms were shown to Jennifer Drake, yet she disclosed that she had never seen them before. However, Jennifer's Cellbrite extraction shows those same guns being talked about and raved about by Jennifer Drake herself to her mother-in-law, as the guns belonged to Drake's mother. Here's a good one for you. Never heard of this in my life. 3/13/2020, missing Kootenai County dispatch records from 3/12/2020. There is no recorded 911 call received by dispatch on 3/12/2020 from either Jennifer Drake or a number associated with Jennifer Drake. How can this be possible? There's no 911 call. Wow, these people are special. Well, where is it at? Let me grab. So basically, we get to the point that the PCA's trash and, Bryan Drake was legally drunk. They just think that he was drinking throughout the day. They have nothing to corroborate those statements. In fact, every single witness says that he did not smell like alcohol at all. They said that the motive was that Dan Moore killed Bryan Drake because 30 patients left. Here's something that's funny for you. During the criminal investigation, before the arrest of Daniel Lee Moore, none of these 30 patients were ever interviewed and turned over to the defense. These interviews. These people that you're saying just left. Did you interview them? Where is any of what? Unreal, man. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is why I pulled this up. Oh, here's the cell tower dump shows that there was no 911 call at 1929 on the cell towers. If you go ahead and you look at this. So about that. About the fucking case that they don't have against anybody, let alone In closing, I say that Detective Van Leuven, oh yeah, and the latest thing too is I had the pleasure of trying to help the Moores write a huge miscarriage of justice that was bound to happen, whether it was at the civil level, criminal level, whatever. And I about hit the floor when because I was like begging. I was like, please go and interview Eldora Gatchel. Please go and interview Eldora Gatchel. You have to depose Eldora Gatchel. Everything is on Eldora Gatchel. Please go and do it. The Moores begged, paid $200,000 and asked and begged for their attorneys to please, will you please put in a deposition and depose Eldora Gatchel, please. The Moores would get a phone call and Dana Bose said, Chuck interviewed Eldora. Eldora doesn't know anything. Eldora doesn't even drive anymore. Eldora doesn't know anything. And I said, you guys interviewed Eldora Gatchel? Oh my God, this is great. Woo! What'd you ask her? What'd she say? What's going on? This is amazing. Yes, you deposed her. You interviewed her. Wait, what? She knows nothing. She doesn't remember anything. She, on about like, and I'm like, wait, you didn't depose her. Wait, what? You sent an investigator? And you had an investigator interview her? Wait, what? Like, this is what I'm just thinking in my head. I'm like, oh my God, wait, what's going on? Wait, Eldora doesn't drive anymore? Wait, what kind of questions were they asking these people? And I'm just like, no way. I said, Dan, Karen, if you guys were my parents, I would be telling you, I think that you need to call this investigator up and you need to ask this investigator if he could send his report to you of interviewing Eldora Gatchel. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, something doesn't seem right to me right now. Like this is really weird. Up out of the blue, like the day before they're withdrawing or the day after they or try to withdraw, they're telling you that they interviewed Eldora Gatchel with an investigator. I was like, what? Wow. Yeah, I think I would probably just call that investigator up and ask him. This investigator said, what the fuck are you talking about? I never have interviewed Eldora Gatchel. I don't have any reports on Eldora Gatchel. Oh my God! I said, excuse me? Like to myself. Like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Your investigator said he didn't interview Eldora Gatchel? No. And he's never... What? Your lawyers lied to you about interviewing a material witness in a murder investigation? I said, I gotta go to the ER, man. I'm about to have a heart attack. I was like, this can't be true. I was like, there's no way this is facts right now. I said, wait, wasn't Dana giving you statements that Eldora said? Yeah, she said that Eldora said that she doesn't drive anymore and that she doesn't even hardly remember anything from that time anymore. It's been like however many years and she doesn't remember anything and she doesn't drive anymore. I mean, if you want us to send him back out and, you know, interview her again for a second time. Wait, what? She just fabricated statements and fabricated that she had an investigator go in and have an interview and have a fake fucking everything? I was like, you have a murder charge hanging over your head. And no offense, but I started laughing. I said, and why the fuck does it matter if Eldora Gatel drives or not now? What question could you possibly have asked? Who gives a fuck? I don't care if the bitch is in a wheelchair and can't walk anymore. That is irrelevant. I said, I can't. I said, this is unfucking believable. The woman who lies about what time she left, who lies about seeing a white truck that's like implicate, like your client here, Dana. She's the fucking witness that said all this to get the ball rolling with the white truck that never fucking happened when she was there. You are making up a fucking story about this fucking what? And you're telling, this is misconduct. I said, somebody find me the rule book. I said, I don't even know what this is. I said, holy shit, I need a consult myself. Like I need a damn free consult. I said, tell me, like, are you guys, I guess you guys are older. Are you Lana, no, you were standing right there. Fuck yeah, I was. I'm a witness to the shit. I'm a motherfucking witness to it. That's like the bomb drop right there is. I was like, fuck, do I have to really fill out an affidavit and say what the fuck I heard in my motherfucking house? I've never in my life, like, holy shit. They're trying to get this man for murder, and your own attorney is saying, we've interviewed her. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't even drive anymore. What? Chuck interviewed her. And I said, tell him that you want the report. And you better call up that investigator right now and probably talk to him. And ask him to send you the report as well. And he said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me check my files, but I've never interviewed Eldora Gatel. And then he says, who cares about Eldora Gatel? She has nothing to do with this. And then I officially died. I had to go and get resuscitated. The lead investigator on the Moore case said, who Eldora Gatel has nothing to do with this. Who cares if she was the last patient to see Drake? I said, I gotta go. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm about to barf. He's an ex-cop, Chuck. I said, oh my God, he's an ex-cop. Dana's husband's a Post Falls police officer right now. Her dad's an ex-cop. I was like, oh my fucking Jesus. So what can we do, y'all? Because I can't even. So yesterday, I was attempting to help, and Dana Bose knows that I was trying to help the Moors based off of the Moors asking me if I would watch and if I saw anything, if, you know, where anybody was lying, if, you know, can I take notes? Could I get my notes to anybody? Like, can you help us? Can we do anything? Like, what's going on? You know, like that type of stuff. Like, so someone's like basically just begging you, like, or they're just on their lap. I'm like, yeah. I was like, but this is unbelievable. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, of course I'll watch, and of course I'll report and tell you if somebody makes a statement that is, you know, inconsistent with what they've said before, or, you know, I'll provide you with everything that I've ever done. I don't, you know, whatever. I don't even, I'm just like, you know. So here is, let's see, yesterday's moment where, oopsies. Oh, here we go. Okay. Here's what happens in this. Okay, so here, let me see. Okay. Please pay attention to the screen. This is what happens yesterday. This is where my rights were violated.
For a last route. It's going through both the center of the window area where there's two window panes. One's broken out quite a bit, so it's not as useful as the other window pane, which has a smaller hole in it. And then that corresponds with the hole in the main lights. So we have a rough trajectory of the angle of the board as it went through the window. So the FBI assisted you? Yes. And that's an agent who was holding that out there? Yes. You remember who that is? Jacobson? Yes.
Leading.
Thank you. Next exhibit. Showing you now exhibit number 11. Could you describe what this depicts? This depicts the drive-through or the area between where Dr. Drake's office was located, which is the building on the right, and the drive-through of the coffee shop, which is the building on the left. And the second window away from us on the left side of the building on the right is the window where the bullet went through. So you'll see first window and then the second window. Yeah, first window, yeah, and then the second window. That's the window where the bullet went through, where Dr. Drake was seen. And that, when you're pointing out that window, Ms. Herndon our paralegal is pointing to that with the cursor, correct? Yes. All right, next photograph, please. What does this depict? This is exhibit number 12. This is a photograph of Dr. Drake and his family that was displayed in his office that was there when we processed the scene. All right, I'd like to now move to exhibit number 13.
We can take a brief recess. Council approach.
Right here, you hear that's Dana Bowe's voice, the voice of Dr. Moore, attorney. Dana Bowe, the person who said that she interviewed Eldora Gatel, never happened, gave false statements about a material witness in a murder investigation that Dr. Moore was charged with. Lies to her client and says that she interviewed her, had her interviewed by Chuck, the investigator, and told her client things that never happened. And right here, before they say, so Dana is like not doing any direct examination here. She's supposed to be sitting there watching and intently listening to Van Leuven. Okay. And she just stands up and says, Your Honor, can we take a recess? Okay. Right here. Can we take a recess?
All right, I'd like to now move to exhibit number 13.
We can take a brief recess. Council approach.
Can we take a brief recess and can counsel approach? Ready?
What is up, everybody?
They're at this brief recess.
Before we resume on the record, Mr. and Mrs. Moore, we just want to confirm that it is in fact you who have walked on. If you could please briefly turn on your video at this time. The guests who logged in is Dan and Karen Moore Feed. Yes, and I've asked them to unmute and turn on the video. All they need to do is speak. I've unmuted them.
Dana? What have you done?
To the proceedings in direct contradiction of this court's order. On the record, I have been informed as someone who was watching via Zoom is live streaming the proceedings in direct contradiction of this court's order.
Where's that decorum order? Where's that decorum order? Where's that decorum order? Ready for this part? Well, let's see. Dana, where did you get permission from the Moores to stipulate to having Dateline NBC there? Can you please answer that for me? As a reporter, I'm asking you a question. It says that you signed off on Dateline NBC in a stipulated motion. When did you ask your clients about stipulating to having Dateline NBC have full audio and video rights to be inside the courtroom? When did that happen? There was no decorum order. There was no order that said that nobody that could use the Zoom link could not Zoom it publicly for a public proceeding. And I was following. Let's see. Let's get to this. I came across. I did some of my own digging. Right here. Based on the stipulations of the parties. See that big old check there? Based on the stipulations of the parties. This is for NBC to have the proceedings on 1/29/2025 to be able to bring in cameras and a microphone to record the proceedings. NBC News is not allowed to record visually or audibly the minor children. NBC will comply with, everything with Rule 45. Right here, the reason that this whole order came about, order for audio video coverage for NBC, is because it was checked here that said it was based on the stipulation of the fucking parties. Well, who stipulated to this? When did Dana or Matt ask their client, Dan Moore, or where did Karen? I don't even think Karen Moore is represented, so Karen Moore would have had to sign off on this? How does that work? Who stipulated to this motion? So I did my own interview. I said, "Dear Karen, did you ever stipulate to NBC having access to record the proceedings? If so, would you care to share any communication that you had with that?" Hi. No, we never stipulated to anything. Sure, Dana's just going to produce what? A fake email? Unfucking believable. Unfucking believable. In fact, there's emails that are out there that show that the Moores asked that truth and transparency be given. We want it to be put in as a motion that truth and transparency for the purposes of doing a documentary for educational purposes about what the Moors have been through and gone through, that we wanted to have rights to have cameras and video and audio in the courtroom. That was asked by the Moors to their attorney. Where's that at? Where was that at? Dana knew that her client was watching because he couldn't get on Zoom through that thread. And so that I could be able to help, because Dr. Moore asked me to be able to see it so that I could write down if inconsistent statements came about in the proceeding. It wasn't Jennifer Drake that shut that down. Jennifer Drake wants it out there. It wasn't Peter Erblin that asked for that recess. It was Dana Bose. That's her voice. That's her. And I'm going to do everything I can to get the recording of what she told Judge Jensen in that sidebar. Because it's bullshit. And then after it happens, there's text messages that, well, still Van Leuven's on the stand. So she's watching my YouTube channel, having people watch it. She's too bothered with that to be paying attention to what she's supposed to be doing in a case. And then she's texting with media outlets who are local and can't get into the Zoom because Jennifer Drake shared it with 1,300 people on her Facebook page. And she's texting with the media while she's supposed to be listening intently to Van Leuven's direct examination. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know how somebody has. I couldn't imagine having her as a criminal lawyer, let alone a civil attorney. She's never done a civil case before. This was her first one, but she's definitely been inside a courtroom before, and she definitely knows what her ethical duties and the oath that she took, and she violated it numerous times. And how you lie to clients and the only way that Dateline NBCA was in there is based off of a stipulation. That means the Moors had to agree to it, okay? And so the theory out there then that the Moors backed away because of Dateline, well, that doesn't even seem right because they stipulated a Dateline being there, okay? I would love to know where this information would be coming from that the Moors ran away because Dateline was going to be there. Okay. Cough up these sources. This is disgusting. So this is ineffective assistance of counsel. Like in so many ways, the Moors were begging them to interview people, depose people. Mostly it was depose people, go to their own depositions that were already scheduled. Dana and Matt blew off the deposition with Mick, who was their alibi witness for Dr. Moore. Blew it off. Fucking didn't show up. Didn't show up. How do you not show up to hear what somebody is going to be asked and going to be testifying to? And there is such a thing as ineffective assistance of counsel in civil cases. So, but fuck all of that. This is disbarment, man. Dana Bowe should be handled by the fucking bar. They put a fucking dead man on a witness list. You understand that? Clark Helverson is motherfucking dead and has been dead since 2020. Dana. I had to laugh, you guys, so many times because if I didn't laugh, I was gonna cry. Because I couldn't even, I was like, how is this happening? Like normally, like I've dealt with attorneys that, hey, I can't pay them. So they're like, dude, I can't work. I'm sorry. But here, these motherfuckers got paid so well. Oh my God. The Idaho4 case is the same thing, guys. Bryan Kohberger is literally, he's either the unluckiest motherfucker and then got lucky by getting Ann Taylor, or he's a killer and then got lucky by getting Ann Taylor, or he's unlucky and then lucky he had Idaho cops working on his case. But you don't get to see defenses like we are seeing in the Idaho4 case. You don't get to see defenses like Richard Allen's attorneys. You don't get to see defenses like what we do. Karen Reed's defense, $5 million fucking dollars. Nobody can afford that shit. Nobody. And what the fuck does it matter at the end of the day when you have the house cheating, like they're playing Monopoly, and they're the banker and they're the real estate property, and they're just taking both? My heart does break for the Drake children, Drake's family, Drake himself. Jennifer, I'm still on the fences about. She's going to really have to truly explain that 7:17 p.m. phone call, because the 7:26 and truly what it was about for me to budge on that one. Because it's just the evidence. I'm just sick and tired of seeing it every fucking day. And two people asked me to help them, and here the one person that they paid substantially well to help them and protect their interest literally was too worried about getting payback on me because I exposed what a shitty fucking attorney she was. Because I embarrassed her. That was payback yesterday. I know what that was. Dana, your decorum is my payback. You have no couth, honey. You passed the fucking test to get a fucking certificate in a fucking town that blows. You are no better than any person that comes in my chat or any person that watches a live or myself. Nor are you better than the Moors. You're a disgrace to your profession. And I will continue to do the right thing for the right deserving people in life. Because as Kathy Allen said, this isn't over.